Good evening, CEVO fans and newcomers. My name is Gorgon the Wonder Cow, and I am joined today for a very special broadcast by the three hosts of the Defense of the Patients podcast that you can find more about at defenseofthepatients.com. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Appreciate you having us.
Yeah, why don't you guys go ahead, because there's a lot of people on this broadcast, and I think our viewers are probably not used to that, so why don't you guys just introduce yourselves real quick, and then we'll talk about what we're doing here.
Oh, I'm Cyphus, one of the co-hosts of Defense of the Patients.
I'm the Grand Wazoo, another co-host of the podcast.
And I'm Roland. I'm a co-host of the podcast.
All right, cool. And I'm Gorgon. As I said, I'm a standard caster here. If you guys have stopped by CEVO before, you've seen me. So you may have noticed that this is not a pretty typical broadcast, and that we're not immediately talking about the bans and the picks. And the reason for that is this is a new series that I'm hoping to get off the ground here at CEVO that is called CEVO Learns, where we're just going to come in and spend a lot more time focusing on the details of the game and trying to use live tournament games in order to be entertaining and educational. Focus a little bit less on the play-by-play and a little bit more on the big picture. So that being said, we've got KCEA versus Ice V2 here today. We also have LDJ, a stats guy from the Standard Deviants, the Stat House, coming in with us as well. So I have on my second monitor the Twitch chat open. I'm going to be monitoring that throughout the game, and if you guys have any questions, go ahead and throw them at us in the Twitch chat. We'd be happy to make any explanations or to focus on any issues that you guys have particular questions about. And we will be giving away some tickets for the I-League during this broadcast. We're going to give away one ticket for the four of us are going to vote on the best question that we got during the broadcast for game one at the end of the broadcast, and the winner of that's going to get a ticket. The winner of the second game's broadcast question vote between us is going to get a ticket, and then we're going to raffle off a ticket at the end of the night as well for anybody who didn't have any questions or didn't win the question but still wants a chance at that I-League ticket. We also have a Spectre Blade. All these are provided by LDJ from Standard Deviants, whom you should follow on Twitter if you have a Twitter. Yeah, that's basically where we are. So, guys, coming into this draft, you're looking at it. It's pretty standard for the current meta, but do you have any questions? What are you seeing?
I'm seeing KC banning out, really tanky, three tanky heroes. Why is that?
Well, a lot of tanky heroes being banned out here for KCEA kind of implies that they're probably looking to do a lot of basic damage dealing strategy. Maybe some burst damage, especially the Void does kind of rely on bursting people down in the Chronosphere. That is one of the aspects of the tanky heroes. I think the other aspect is that all three of those heroes just happen to be tanky, and they're all in meta right now. They're all big, good team fight heroes, right? You have the Wraith King that you don't want to have to kill in a team fight because he can screw up your entire teams with that attack speed and move speed slow.
Yeah.
You have the Tide Hunter who initiates and reinitiates very well. And
with Ravage, right? With his ultimate?
Exactly, with that Ravage.
Is that why he's a support, is because of his ultimate? Is that why he's considered a support? Like, I know everybody says this big tanky fish guy is a support, and it's hard for me to believe. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so a lot of the reasons that he's a support come down to the fact that when he levels up, he does not level up with as much agility as a lot of other heroes do. And supports usually end up coming down to which heroes provide a lot to a team fight or provide a lot to a push or provide a lot to a gank, but don't actually have the ability to do enough damage in the late game to burn people down with damage per second. So agility heroes tend to be carries. I don't know if you've noticed that. Most carries are agility heroes or heroes that scale agility and late game damage very well. Most heroes that are considered carries have damage per second in the late game. And most heroes that are considered supports or semi-cores, anything along those lines, those heroes have a tendency to be very strong in some aspects of the game, but they have a tendency to have less agility gain than most other heroes.
Okay.
I find it interesting that version 2 banned out the Lycan. I feel like that's a good move for them because seeing the Razor on KCEA shows that static link is probably going to take away all that damage. So they banned him out. They do not want to see a Lycan for the push.
Yeah, and the Lycan for the push also goes alongside the Razor because the Razor's ultimate does damage towers, especially when you get the Aghanim's up. You can with the Razor you can burn down towers very quickly.
Oh yeah.
So that does hit a tower. The lightning storm above Razor's head.
Yeah, it's I forget the name of it. It's Eye of the Storm, and Eye of the Storm. If there are no other units around with lower health, it will just automatically target down towers, and it's very effective at mid-game tower pushes. Specifically, mid-game tower pushes after you win a team fight. It's not quite as effective if you have a whole opposing team around you, because then they're going to move into you, and the Eye of the Storm is likely going to jump from target to target until somebody gets low enough that they are the only low target to latch onto. But unlike a lot of other pushing abilities, you can't set it to target the tower. So it's not the ideal pushing skill for all situations. It's not like Serpent Wards with the Shadow Shaman, for example, who is up here.
Sure.
You can drop those.
Favorite.
Yeah.
Yes. He is my favorite.
So you can drop those anywhere near a tower, and no matter what's happening, if you want to burn down that tower, you can tell it to target that tower. Unlike, once again, Eye of the Storm, which would go in, and it's kind of up to RDM. It's kind of up to which heroes have low health, or if your opponents push into you while you're trying to knock that tower down, whether or not it will actually be a strong push skill or not.
So it looks like they're going to be supporting on ice with Shadow and Skywrath, right? Skywrath probably in the 4 spot.
Or 5, probably.
Skywrath, yeah, it's hard to tell if he's going to be in the 4 or the 5. He's probably not going to be in the mid, though he could end up there. I've been seeing a lot more of the support Skywrath lately, and he does work very well alongside somebody like a Bat Rider. Here's something that I always say in my broadcast that everybody needs to keep in mind. Concussive Shot, which is his second skill, second skill, it gives you vision for a little over 3 seconds in a pretty wide area of effect after it lands. So you can cast that from 1200 range, which is larger than most cast ranges. And then it will chase for an indefinite amount of time. It cannot be disjointed, and when it lands, it gives vision. So if you have heroes that are really dependent on having vision to initiate, heroes like, often it will be paired with the Clockwork, often it will be paired with somebody like a Bat Rider. If you're really dependent on being able to see where a hero is, the Skywrath Mage is very good for that, because even if they're hiding behind their tower, if you get a quick glimpse of them from 1200 range away, then you can have vision of them in a few seconds to give your Bat Rider plenty of time to find the optimal lasso approach. Correct.
So Gorgon, is Invoker getting banned just because somebody on KCEVO can play Invoker really well?
Invoker's a pretty popular hero up at the higher tiers of community level play and the pro level play. He did get a nerf recently, which is where a hero takes a hit to his efficacy by having a skill reduce or a stat reduce or something. He used to be very, very strong because Cold Snap did more damage than it does now, and that's one of his spells that does a lot of mini stuns. Each of those mini stuns did a lot of damage as well.
Every time you hit him, right? Every time you hit him, it'll re-proc or process a Cold Snap?
Cold Snap actually has a delay in seconds. So you hit him with it once, and then once he levels it up, he'll hit you with it. It'll have a slight delay, and then it'll hit you again. It's very much like Enigma's stun.
Yes, it's very good and very annoying and very effective.
Very good, very annoying, and very effective is a really good description of Cold Snap. But it also used to be really powerful for just zoning out mids because it did so much damage. And now it does a little bit less damage. You see him a little bit less often. But Invoker's really flexible, and that's a key component to drafting in Captain's Mode, is the flexibility of your draft. And in this case, having an Invoker who could really go anywhere and do more or less anything in terms of roles because of the various skills that he can produce, I think it really comes down to Ice didn't want to be unsure what they were dealing with in terms of lanes. So we had a question out of the chat that asked, why don't we see more Visage? And I think that really just comes down to the fact that in 6.81 he got a nerf to his movement speed, I believe, which makes him a little less effective for roaming, which is really where he likes to be. And the fact that there's a lot more focus on having teammates who are really mobile.
Sure. So it looks like, they're setting up to do a gank here? Is that what this is? A 4-man?
So I'm actually adjusting the volume just a little bit now, and it may have frozen for our viewers. But what this is they're going into their jungle, this 4-man grouping down here in the bottom in the Radiant side. They're going down there to do what's called protecting their jungle. And when they move in as a group like that, what they're doing is trying to make sure that there's not going to be a movement into the jungle from this direction. out of their opponents to come in and put up wards. And unfortunately, they didn't.
Which they did, right? Yeah. They got that ward there.
Right.
Okay.
They didn't quite protect off this ward, which is really easy to get and really hard to stop. But they did protect against any warding that comes up here, any warding that comes up even deeper, or any blocking wards. So it's semi-successful. You definitely don't, typically at this level of play, you don't want to send one person into your jungle to ward, because if you send one person into your own jungle and they send 4 undercover smoke, that's a first blood before the creeps come out. That's
a big deal.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing wrong.
Not the only thing.
So this ward here, why waste your second ward putting it here?
So this ward, this is becoming more popular, this sort of warding, out of the higher level teams. It used to be really popular to block a camp, and that is where you put a ward up in one of these camps, specifically this camp here, because it can be used to pull out creeps and then pull your lane creeps in to deny experience. Now, before, when that was really, really popular pro level play, creeps that were killed by neutrals did not give experience to your opponents. And creeps that you killed, neutral creeps that you killed, only gave experience to your team. But now that has changed, and creep experience can be bled over onto your opponents. So if you're killing neutrals, your opponents can stand nearby and get experience from them, even if you're doing the killing on them. And
I see.
So because of that change, you aren't really as damaged when there are creep pulls, because your offlaner can, for example, come up behind this camp and just kind of sit there and get experience. It's not as big of a deal.
Can we explain a creep pull? I know that we all had questions about it before, and I just barely learned how the creep pull works in stacking camps. Will you explain that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So creep stack and a creep pull are two different things, and the creep stacking, what that is so creeps are spawned on all 5 of these neutral camps, 6 if you include the ancients. These neutral camps, they'll spawn 30 seconds into the game, and then they will spawn every minute on the minute for the rest of the game, however long the game goes.
Oh, okay.
What they won't do is they won't spawn if there is a unit within their spawn box. And I remember actually on one of your guys' podcasts, you had a few questions about this. So I'm working on a High Ground TV article about specifically the aspects of this. So there'll be a more in-depth discussion about that this weekend on High Ground TV for anybody who is interested. But basically each area has a spawn box that you kind of have to memorize. For example, the spawn box for this camp here goes, I can't do it. Yeah, I can do it on the minimap, but I can't do it on this screen because it's paused. Goes like this. It's a huge spawn box. And
wow. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Good.
So I was going to say, if a ward is placed in that box, that camp won't spawn?
Yeah, so if there is any unit in this box, any unit that actually is registered as a unit, it won't spawn any creeps. So units that count as units are neutral creeps, lane creeps, summonables, heroes, observer wards, sentry wards, and then some things that heroes can call up, like a homing missile, for example, out of gyrocopter. That counts as a unit. It can take damage. And so it counts as a unit. A good rule of thumb is, can it take damage? It's not a perfect rule of thumb because, for example, Pugna's Nether Ward will not block camps, and couriers won't block camps either. Couriers.
I was just about to ask about a courier. I was going to say, I hope I'm not blocking camps with my courier when I call it to me.
Yeah, actually, the reason that the couriers don't block camps is not because they don't want people accidentally blocking their camps, but because they don't want people buying 5 couriers and then having permanent camp blockers. That, like, if I could buy three couriers to open the game, walk them down here, hide them in, you know, very, like, cut down a tree and hide them back here so they're really hard to find, and then I have...
Good foresight.
Yeah.
It would be lame meta.
Yeah, exactly. That would be lame meta, which is also called pro meta sometimes.
Well, I don't know any meta, so other than I think I'm supposed to hit them the last time on creeps.
Yeah, sometimes the last time. If you're me, it's more often like the third to last time, the second to last time, and then never again.
Maybe the hardest thing about Dota.
Yeah, it's definitely something that takes a lot of practice to learn.
Sure. So we have Skywrath and we have Alchemist. It
seems like they're phasing that Void out of lane pretty well down there, and it's an off-lane Void down there, so he's not really going for the most gold or last hits.
Yeah, right. An off-lane Void is often one of these heroes that has to catch up. He didn't traditionally play as an offlaner. This is something that has become more popular as of late Teams like Liquid, I think, and Sneaky Nyx Assassins to some degree did it, and it got a lot more popular. We're going to miss a first blood here in the mid lane because of a big rotation, but remember, guys, what we said. We're going to focus a little bit less on the nuanced, or we're going to focus a little bit less on the play-by-play and a little bit more on explaining specific aspects of what's happening. So if we miss a few kills or whatever, that's something that you're going to have to deal with. And if you want to watch this game with this sort of commentary, but you want to make sure you're getting all the kills, you can buy the CEVO TV ticket, jump in and watch it on Dota TV and control your own camera. But for tonight, we're going to focus a little bit less on making sure we're catching all the kills. So back to this question with the Void. He is a farm-dependent hero, a really farm-dependent hero, actually. And he jumps into this off lane because he's pretty hard to kill. But he can be zoned out very easily, especially by a hero like Skywrath Mage, who, as we already mentioned, has a huge range. It's, I think, 1,200 on Concussive Shot and 600 on Arcane Bolt. I'm not 100% sure on those ranges. Yeah, 1,600 on Concussive Shot and 800 on Arcane Bolt.
Which is huge.
It's enormous. I'll actually highlight over so you can see on the screen, guys. I'll zoom out. That is the range that he can cast that Concussive Bolt at. Void is technically in range.
Wow.
Right now. So, yeah, it's enormous and very difficult for melee heroes to deal with, which is giving plenty of farm up to this Alchemist. Now, this Faceless Void at some point in time is going to have to go out and catch up by going into another lane, maybe going to the jungle, but Void doesn't really have the life sustain to go into the jungle because the neutrals are too beefy for him. So at some point in time, his team is going to need to make opportunities in another lane and come up here just in time to watch that Razor go down. The Firefly just burned him down, and there was not a lot that could be done. So Razor getting a little too far forward and Bean doing really well up here in this off lane.
So if I walk through Firefly, does it do damage over time after I walk through it?
Yeah, so Firefly does damage while you're in it, and it has a little bit of residual burn damage, I believe. I can check that on that. Damage over time, 60, and once you get off of it, like off of the actual thing, the burn damage goes away. But the animation is just so that you can be standing right next to it. Like if this is your Firefly, the actual animation, if you're standing like right on the edge of it, you'll still be taking residual burn damage. So you want to make sure that you're not on any of the flames whatsoever, or it will continue to burn you as long as you're on it.
Void just suffered another death, well, his first death in this off lane here. He was hit out here in the trees in the dire off lane and tried to escape and got stunned out.
Yeah, it's just rough to be a Faceless Void. Even his escape tactics are not 100% reliable, especially if he can get stunned. Like you can notice as well, he's leveling up Backtrack along with Time Walk, so he's 100% defensive right now.
Indeed, none of that, nothing in Time Lock. So you know he's not planning on really getting any hits on anyone.
Yeah,
for a while at least.
So why is he doing this then? If it's so controversial.
So I say it's controversial. It's outside of my preference zone when I see teams do this. A lot of casters really like it, and a lot of teams really like it. Part of the reason is the Void provides so much potential in your mid game as both a mid game carry, but also as a hero who jump in just in time to see that kill. Also as a hero who provides a lot of control because of his Chronosphere, that a lot of teams just feel like this Void is so ridiculously good that even though it's going to offset some of our game windowing, or by windowing I mean when heroes come into their optimal point in time in the game,
their highest efficacy. Okay.
Yeah, the efficacy at certain times, within certain windows of the game or certain areas of time. He's going to offset that a little bit because he's going to need to take some farm at some point. He's actually going to move in here. And so this rotation out of the Venomancer is really solid. Unfortunately, they're probably not going to be able to kill this Alchemist, because his
based
ultimate,
upon that rage.
Yeah, his ultimate is just too ridiculous here. And then now there's a Witch Doctor here as well. Witch Doctor's going to be stunned out.
Smart stun on the Alchemist as well.
That was a smart stun. Yeah, to hit the Witch Doctor, like Wazoo just said. Do you think... Oh, he's not level 6. Never mind.
Yeah. So, actually, I think that stun probably would have been a little bit better served throwing onto the Faceless. And the reason for that is the Faceless was in the same line of movement as the Venomancer. They were lined up like that. So, you have a better chance of stunning both of them with that, like getting them close enough that you can get both stuns than you do sending off to the... So, it doesn't stack, but it has a small AoE these days. It didn't always, but if you've got heroes that are standing right next to each other, they can all get stunned.
Wow. Well, so far this has been very informative, and we're 7 minutes in. So how is mid doing? Kunkka mid. I see this a lot. Wazoo likes to play Kunkka mid. How do you feel about a Kunkka mid? Why is Kunkka mid?
I think Kunkka mid is a lot stronger than people give it credit for, actually. And the reason for that is the Tidebringer. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Tidebringer It is a non-magic dependent spell that allows you to harass from outside of a melee range. I'm going to highlight that so you can actually see the range. You guys can do that on your own camera. It's pretty wide range. So if you're playing a Kunkka mid and you're trying to contest the lane, you're going up against another melee, for example, or even a ranged hero who's trying to play off the creeps. You can use that Tidebringer to harass them down over and over and over again. Just hit them with that nuke, and it costs you no mana. So if you're going up against an Obsidian Destroyer, or excuse me, an Outworld Devourer is his name now. His name changed from
Oh, wow, that was his old name, huh?
Yeah, the Obsidian Destroyer was the old name. Outworld Devourers, and we're actually going to see this guy get ganked. This is the problem with the Kunkka mid. The problem with the Kunkka mid is that he's not that maneuverable, so when things go wrong, he tends to really go down. Bean coming in trying to help him.
Oh, he's going to... still doesn't get out based on the poison.
I want to point out something here, that since we're there, that this poison, the ultimate coming out of Venomancer cannot kill you. So for you to die to Venomancer poison, you have to take a poison sting, which is the buff that goes onto his auto attack. And that poison sting has to be on you when the poison nova, his ultimate, gets you down to 1. Otherwise, that poison can't kill you. The poison by itself, or the poisonous scale, the venomous scale, can also kill you. But poison nova, his ultimate, cannot kill you. It can only bring you down to 1.
Ouch.
And I know the Plague Wards can kill you. I've died that way plenty of times.
The Plague Wards also get your poison sting, actually. That stacks onto the Plague Wards. So, well, a lot of times, if you see a Venomancer who tries to take a carry position, a lot of times they'll just ignore the venomous scale for a good chunk of the game. Just get Plague Ward and Poison Sting. And that's not just because the Plague Ward's push and the Poison Sting helps you slow people down, but also because those two abilities stack on top of each other.
Oh, okay. Well, that's really cool to know. I've played a little bit of Venomancer, but I never read that will not bring you below 1 HP on the ultimate. Yeah. So that's interesting. All those kills that I thought I should have deserved, or that I thought I deserved, that I didn't
thought
get.
you should have maybe.
I was like, it's gonna
some
get
of the
him. It's
world
gonna get him, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
Well,
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, it's one of those things that a lot of players don't realize, even at, like, middle tiers of play. There are these little nuanced things about skills that, you know, you don't read every word of every text. And if you hold down Alt, by the way, I don't know if you know this. If you hold down Alt over a text, it will tell you hidden text. A lot of times it tells you even more about the skill. Like, really nuanced stuff.
Wow, interesting.
Most
I had no
skills
idea
have
about that.
Yeah, I know.
Learn something new every day.
Now I'm going over every hero, scanning, like, oh, that's cool. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Wow.
So there are things hidden in the skills that a lot of people don't realize because they don't alt check all of their skills for every hero. Why would you? It's a lot of stuff to remember. But when you're talking about pro levels of play, these are guys that know, for the most part, every little aspect that is in those skills. A nice little gank going off on the Venomancer. I don't know that it was worth the boat because the Venomancer's not really going to be as a hero. I guess he is a mid Venomancer, so he's going in as a semi-carry, it looks like. But the boat, right now, he could go bottom with that boat, for example, and get a double kill, probably. So weighing the cost of those ultimates against what you're getting out of them is something that happens a lot at this level of play as well.
Looks like they're going to grab him.
Oh, yep.
The Disruptor there.
Nice, and the Void is
Pretty
trying to zone them out of the tower a little bit, but he really just needs to back up, and he's staying
Void.
pretty far forward. Actually, he's probably checked the Alchemist's mana to make sure that he doesn't have a stun, or he wouldn't be this far forward.
Oh, indeed.
And the Shadow Shaman. Like once again, at this level of play, usually people are checking their equivalent heroes or whatever, the heroes in the lane, and just seeing, oh, are they able to zone me out or not? And nobody in this lane has very much mana, so he's kind of safe. But the right clicks by themselves could be enough to make him very unhappy. So he probably doesn't want to go up above this line, or excuse me, below that line.
And the elusive Skywraths. So he's doing a good job still. Even despite the death, he just hit level 6.
Just pulled in that chrono right now.
And that's good for the team.
And picking up power treads.
Right?
So.
Getting that chronosphere as quickly as possible.
So the chronosphere is really important, but level 1 chronosphere usually isn't really that important. And the reason for that is he's actually going to get moved around on here. There is a stun up on Endplaner on the Alchemist, but there's the chronosphere. This is actually going to be a rare case where the chronosphere is very effective, especially with the Disruptor coming down here. He throws up the kinetic field to make sure that everything inside that chronosphere is stuck there even after the game.
And they'll get the lane. Razor got the damage drain off on the Alchemist before he died. Probably didn't get much. But
he got 42, so that's pretty,
still.
You know, it's a lot at this stage in the game.
Yeah,
when we're talking less than 1,000 health per hero,
and
right?
I think we should mention
Can't
that
argue with
Plague
value
Ward.
like that.
That Plague Ward was awesome.
Yeah, that Plague Ward, it provides vision. It also provides a little bit of slow. And in addition, it's going to provide that damage over time. So if you think that a hero is trying to get away, you can throw that Plague Ward around corners as long as it's within range and see into the jungle as a chaser, or make sure that you're maintaining vision, make sure that they're not getting away from you. It's really hard to get away from a farmed Venomancer because he has that slow, he has Venomous Gale as well, and he has the ability to get vision around corners.
Okay, and he can place a Plague Ward where he does not have vision?
Yeah, you can place a Plague Ward anywhere. In fact, Plague Wards can be used to counter ward, which is where you drop a sentry, and in order to try and take an observer. Like right here, if you've got a Venomancer support, comes down, say, with a sentry, drops a sentry here in this location. I'm going to ping it, so right there on the minimap. If you drop a sentry there, the vision will actually give you vision of 3 ward spots. One right here, one right here, and one right there. Those are the 3 most commonly used spots for finding vision of this rune and also this Roshan entrance.
Will you ping that one more time so we can know?
So I'm going to back up, actually, and just kind of circle them. So right here is right here and right here. And we can actually see 2 of those spots are taken right now, and this is exactly what we're seeing. So the sentry is being dropped here, in order to show 2 spots. And this sentry is actually just a little bit off. If it were placed here, it would show this spot as well.
Oh, interesting.
So you can get that circle up so that it covers all 3 of these spots, and you can't see the uphill vision though. This ward spot, for example, you cannot see unless you have flying vision or you have another observer nearby, or if you have, say, for example, a Venomancer who can drop a Serpent Ward up there or a Plague Ward up there.
We just saw Serpent Wards take the middle tower.
Yeah, Serpent Wards are different than Plague Wards, even though they all look like little snakes.
They all do look like little snakes.
Different little snakes.
The Plague Wards kind of look like the things that pop out of the chest in Alien.
A boat and a torrent from Kanka.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Oh, there goes the void.
Great.
What a combination. Yeah, that was wonderful. That happened so fast, I'm not even sure what happened.
Yeah, and the Serpent Wards are going to come up here, and this is a really nice Serpent Ward trap, actually. I'm going to zoom in.
Yeah.
There's nowhere that Venomancer can go until he knocks down one of those wards, which is not really worth his auto attacks right now because there's so many enemies nearby. He's almost guaranteed to die there when he gets trapped in. So you actually saw that he was just throwing off attacks anyway, and that is the good, not panicking thing to do.
Wow. And those Serpent Wards were so effective. That spot doesn't look like they'd be effective, but if you think about it, it covers a lot of ground.
Positionally, it was very good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it covers an escape, and it covers, I don't know, where the fight was happening, right?
Right. It covers where the fight was happening, but also look at the positioning. These units block movement, right? So having them here means that any heroes that want to move away from the fight have to move through this little channel. And if their entire opposing team, for example, is going to try to run away, if they're going to move off over here into the Fog of War, they're going to have to move through that one little channel one at a time, like Tusken Raiders, right? They're not going to be able to move as a group. They're going to have to move in that one little channel because they block each other. So that kind of forces them into the direction of this tower, or just straight back. Either way, if they go straight back, they can be picked off as they go back because there's enough slow and enough stun coming out of ice that they're going to be able to make one hero not keep up with the rest of the pack and kill that hero as they retreat. And if they come into the tower, then obviously the tower is going to aggro them.
Do they also move in single file like Tusken Raiders?
Yeah, right. They would have had to if they wanted to move up here. That's exactly.
Tie the numbers.
Tie the numbers.
My best Alex Guinness.
I knew I liked you guys.
It's the nerd gene, sir. I play a lot of Kunkka Gorgon, and I saw that Kunkka cast his boat and then cast the torrent after. I've always been doing torrent and then boat. So, and it seemed like the boat earlier really worked out for him, but he was really sure of that.
Yeah,
do you know anything?
So the timing on that is really nuanced, actually, because the boat takes, I think it's like 3.5 seconds, but it might be 4.5 or something like that to land. I don't know the exact timing off the top of my head, and maybe our stats guy LTJ can take a look at that for the exact time. Actually, I might even say in this.
It's always longer.
In fact, to like 3. It's 3 seconds. I can just look at the skill. So yeah, it's 3 seconds, not 3.5.
Nice chronosphere there.
Power. Static link and he's just locked down completely.
This combo, the Razor and the Void, is just so nasty for that reason. The Razor can come in and just have a guaranteed sap.
So much lockdown.
Yeah, that was not fair.
Yeah, and
did you turn the cheats off on this game?
No, I left cheats on. The console commands everything. They can go do whatever they want. And actually, I have the Captain of each team in this Skype call as well, so that they can hear exactly what we're saying. So it's it's all fair. It's all fair.
Oh, well, it looks like KC definitely is, although missing their middle and bottom tower that just lost. Would you say that they're in the lead?
Yeah, so actually, let's take a look at the stats right now. Ice is up about a little over 5,000 gold, which at 17 minutes is a pretty notable amount. They're not up, yeah, they're up about 7,500 experience, but that's come down. The question at this stage of the game, as to who is in the lead and who is behind, it comes down to who can do the most from this point forward with their draft in the position they're in. And I think that Ice is in a position to do a lot. The Alchemist can carry very hard in the late game. And the Kunkka can also carry very hard in the late game. Yeah, the Shadow Shaman will kind of fall off, and the Skywrath Mage will kind of fall off. The Bat Rider pretty much provides what he provides throughout the whole game. And here we're going to see that Torrent combo with the boat again. And once again, you saw the boat come in first, then the Torrent. I don't think I actually finished answering that, so maybe I should talk about that.
Well, it worked out for him again.
Yeah, so the boat Torrent question is, what level is your Torrent? Because the boat takes 3 seconds to land. So if your Torrent is level 2, you need to cast the boat first, or the Torrent's going to go off way before the boat does and kind of warn your opponents. They're going to have a second to try and get out of the way.
Oh, and that's what I've been seeing. I've been seeing a lot of failed boats for that reason alone.
Right.
Just thinking I land the Torrent, so thinking it guarantees the boat when it does not.
Right.
At level 2.
You might guarantee the boat on one person, but you're not going to guarantee the boat on a full team. And that's really what you want, right? You want the boat to hit as many people as possible.
Right.
So, yeah, but once you get it up to level 4, you can really cast the Torrent first if you feel like that's good. Bean is going to go down here. This is an interesting use of the Chronosphere because they didn't really need that for that kill.
Sure, it looked like a little bit of overkill, but it looked like he wanted to ensure. And there's that Bat Rider damage over time after walking through it.
Yeah.
Really cool to know that. I thought I could just walk right through it and be fine. Like, you know, taking your shoes off and walking through burning coals. Like, you're fine after.
Yeah, you're fine after until the next morning when you take a long-term third-degree burn and realize that guru is full of shit.
You're always fine after, just like 90s movies. You know, that always happened. You're always fine.
Damn Eastern medicine.
So here we go. Mount Nips is a little bit too far forward here. He's coming forward to defend, but he needs to be with his team, especially as a support.
Solid Skywrath ult coming down there.
Yeah.
On top of the Shadow Shaman.
Yeah, the Shadow Shaman had been slowed by the Venomancer as well. Venomancer, any slow sets up for that nuke so well. Because a big misunderstanding about that nuke is that in order to land it, you need to make sure that your opponent is perfectly still. But really what you need to make sure is that they can't move fast enough to get out of it before it does the damage it's going to do.
It's a surprisingly versatile spell, and that's because, you know, lots of damage focused on one hero is really good in lots of Dota.
Yeah, as it turns out, nuking 600 damage in like 2 seconds is pretty effective.
Go figure.
Only 600?
Yeah, it's 600 level 1, I believe. Yep, 600 level 1, 1,000 level 2, 1,200 level 3, 1,400 level 3, excuse me.
I was just going to ask, why is a Faceless Void down there? But I'm guessing for farm.
Yeah. He was going down there for farm. Now he's trying to walk down to get some of the experience and gold that's coming off of this very, very successful fight.
Yes, it was.
KC is doing a really good job right now of doing everything that they need to do in order to maintain their stance in this game. They're on a tipping point, and by that I mean they're getting close to the point where the Alchemist and the Kunkka are going to start rolling through their team and just making it so that they cannot respond. But one of the big ways that you try to come back from a deficit like this, and their deficit is 7,500 gold at one point here, which is a lot of gold. I mean, Dota, typically, you would hear most casters say 10,000 gold deficit is where a comeback is considered, like a big comeback, if you come back from 10,000 gold.
I might also note that tier 1 in their bottom lane, their safe lane being knocked out, has really hurt Ice in terms of having any type of control.
Yes, the control. I'm glad you brought that up. The control is a big aspect of it. I mean, look at the warding. They've got really good vision. There's invisibility on the Alchemist right now. I'll pop up the item so you guys can see that. There's a Shadow Blade right there. So having this invisibility, yeah, it saved his life earlier. It will save his life again. But look at all the sentries that are dropped across.
Sure, I see at least 400 gold lying on the ground. Real quick, Gorgon, I wanted to mention that the Pole Camp Radiant bottom.
Yes.
They took out the tree that you can walk through. I learned this from a Purge video, and it's imperative. You know the tree where you can walk straight through so you can keep going north?
Yep, this guy right here.
Yes, exactly. Important thing that I learned from a YouTube video that I'm glad I learned it. Just a little thing. Quelling Blade that tree. It would really help you in movement,
or
right?
even just a Tango. If you have a Tango, you can
a
drop that
Tango,
tree.
yeah.
So most of the time, you're going to go into the bottom lane with Tangos for either you or for your carry or something, depending on what role you're playing. You can drop this tree. You can actually drop that tree too. There are a couple trees that you can drop to just move through there. But here's another important little aspect of this that a lot of people don't really know. If you are pulling, which is, as we aforementioned, dragging the aggro from these creeps so they attack you, such that they attack you up here while your creeps are walking by, your creeps will then aggro those neutrals and then leave the lane so that you get the equilibrium of your bottom lane closer to your tower. That's the basic goal, right? One thing that you can do is when these creeps are about to die, you can knock down this tree here and then pull this camp over so that you can continue these creeps that you've pulled away from your
like
lane.
he just did.
Exactly.
Like Alchemist is doing now. That was beautiful.
So you can actually keep one of the important aspects of pulling. If you're going to pull in a pub match, never pull and then let the creeps come back into lane if you can help it. You don't want that, because if the creeps come back into lane, what they're going to end up doing is pushing against this tower harder and giving your opponent's offlaner a chance to have lots of farms where it's very safe. So you want to kill all of the creeps that you pull in the jungle if you can. And one way you do that is by pulling them up to this camp. And if that camp doesn't kill them, then you pull them over to this camp. You just keep pulling them through and denying them as much as you can so that they do not re-enter the lane.
Okay. It looks like Ice was pretty smart about putting these sentries down and de-centering their own forest. I guess they just saw them get dropped down, or that they knew that their Alchemist was spotted, or...
Yeah, so in that fight, Alchemist was taken out while invisible, or he was being attacked while invisible, so they realize that there's some sort of sentries or something down there. They're checking inventories, so they know there's no gem. And they didn't see the dust animation, so they know there's sentries somewhere, and they just came in to try and get a little bit of control back in their jungle.
Definitely something that you might not see on our level of play. That is cool to see that how quick they react. I mean, sentry wards are only up for 5 minutes?
Yeah, it's 6 minutes now, I think.
6 minutes. Okay,
So I mean, it used to be 5, and then they moved it up to 7 or something. I think it's at 6. I'm having a little bit of brain fart here. 7 minutes. No, it is 7 minutes. Yeah, they didn't move it back down. What am I doing? Yeah, 7 minutes on observers, and then, but the sentries are only up for 4 minutes, I believe.
Oh, okay. So even though they're only there for 4 minutes, they're still spending the time to deward it.
Right, because they need to make sure the Alchemist can get into the jungle safely and get out of the jungle safely if there's a gank.
And that's why his gold per minute is the highest this game.
That
because they're doing things like that.
That and the fact that the Greevil's Greed gives him an unfair advantage.
It's a very, very good skill.
And does he have a hand of Midas as well?
He does.
Did we see there?
Yeah, okay. He does have a hand of Midas. It was a fairly early hand of Midas, because remember, he was uncontested by that Void.
Right.
Oh, yeah, he was. Heart of Tarrasque is that an early Heart of Tarrasque? I mean, I know he got it much earlier than now, but what's a good time to get a Heart of Tarrasque on Alchemist?
I'm going to toss that over to LDJ. He can actually look up the average for pro games for Heart of Tarrasque. Yeah. Yeah, well, dewarding gives you gold for the observers, but not for if you go in and knock out the sentries. So they were knocking down sentries, so it's not quite as lucrative, but it is very important for your map control.
The vision itself is worth a lot of value.
Yeah. So, if LDJ wouldn't mind looking at Heart of Tarrasque on Alchemist, part of the issue with this is Alchemist plays a lot of roles. He plays support, and he plays carry, and he plays mid. Over the last year, those all have been his standard role. And so the Heart of Tarrasque time depends. It varies based on what role he's playing. A really nice Chronosphere coming on here.
Wow.
Yes, it was.
Boy.
Oh, and those sentry wards, too.
Yeah.
With the Witch Doctor right outside to clean them all up.
Right.
Well,
So
Under their own tower, even.
33 minutes is an average time on the Alchemist. So on a carry, I would expect that's probably about 5 minutes above that, maybe 6 minutes above that. Even so, this is a really good time on a Heart of Tarrasque for the Alchemist.
Yeah, they're doing well. I mean,
That was a very good team fight for
extremely
Casilla.
well. It was.
Yeah.
Can Alchemist bring this game back? I mean, is he fed enough to bring this game back, or is it just over?
It's really, really going to be very difficult for them, too, because they need the Kunkka to be providing more. The Kunkka went for a Blink Dagger for initiations, which when you're behind can be very effective, but for the most part, if you're that far behind and you're saving up for a Blink Dagger... So the Kunkka actually bought 2 items that I would normally say are not great items if you are this far behind. One of them is the Blink Dagger, one of them is the Midas, right? One for the Midas, which is basically betting your efficacy now for efficacy later. And then he went for the Blink Dagger, which basically says, very nice, the boat's going to land, and they're going to try to reinitiate on this, but if they chase too far, they are going to get wiped. So watch this. I'm telling you right now, I think if these guys chase too far, they're going to get wiped. here we go. The Alchemist is going to engage. There is no static link for another 4 seconds. So if they're still around in 4 seconds, they might have some trouble. And they're just going to take the one and hopefully back off here.
Perhaps that Razor. The Razor looks like he will. Oh, boy.
Oh, okay,
Wow.
maybe not. I guess KC, part of the issue there is they all split up. I really do think that they could have turned that fight if they waited for the Razor and stuck by
Had they
him.
been engaging together, that definitely seemed like it would have gone the other way.
Yeah, but the Blink Dagger back on this point. Beginning of Blink Dagger is basically saying the only thing keeping me from destroying your team is getting in there and starting a fight. Right? So you're basically saying my positioning is the most important aspect of my performance up against what you have. Which right now, Kunkka's damage and his overall life, his just damage resistance, his ability to take damage, is a big factor. He's just being nuked down too effectively.
Perhaps that money would have been better spent on a Shadow Blade, the Blink Dagger money.
Right,
on Kunkka.
on a Shadow Blade, or possibly on some other damage dealing item, possibly also on something like an Urn, even as simple as that.
Sure.
Would give him just a little bit of health through the early game to help him through.
Yeah, it seems I'm now that I'm thinking about the Blink Dagger on Kunkka, I mean he has to wait for his torrent, he has to wait for his ship. Yeah, why would you even consider a Blink Dagger when you have to wait 3 seconds for your ship and 4 seconds or 1.53 seconds for your torrent?
So he can blink into positions that you otherwise wouldn't be able to access as quickly to set up better boats from interesting angles.
So what he wants is he wants to cast the boat from off-site, and he wants to cast the torrent from off-site. He wants them both to land on his opponents, and then right as it's landing, blink in and attack his opponents from where they could not originally have seen him with that Tidebringer, so that he can do that additional burst damage alongside the boat, alongside the torrent.
Okay, so really, really smart thinking maybe is the thing behind the Blink Dagger with him. He wanted. That's cool. I've never even thought of that.
I want to toss over to the stream because this is a good question that I see actually coming out of the stream. Sinoble wants to know if Alchemist is a good early pick in the draft due to his versatility, because people don't really know how they'll be run. And first I want to see what you guys have to say about that before I give my piece. Just kind of do a little defense to patience contest. See what you guys think. Alchemist, good early, bad early.
I think, this is Scythe was talking, but I think it's probably a great pick. If you need to end up relegating him to support, or if they end up really counter-picking that Alchemist early on, then, you can always relegate him to that support position where he can help a lot more.
He's not really a support position, but he's really good in the sense that he can go mid and he can go safe lane, he can carry really hard. And he's a good mid in terms of pushing people out of lane with that acid spray, as well as that stun just being so versatile in multiple fights. I think he was fantastic for what they ran him as, and a huge team fight coming out here.
Yeah, really.
Kunkka landing that off-site boat that you were talking about, Gorgon, and it really, really helped on this team fight.
Yeah, maybe this is what they need to come
I don't
back.
think anyone from KC is going to make it out alive.
Yeah, it looks like Venomancer is going to go down as well, and it's cleaned up.
Venomancer is...
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh boy, Razor turning it around with
Razor
the Eye of the
really
Storm
turning
that
it
we were
around.
talking about at the beginning of the cast.
Yeah, Poison Nova was a big part of that too, and the Alchemist is going to self-deny here. He lost the Aegis actually. So, yeah, I'm going to say my 2 cents on this picking Alchemist early thing is that it's good when Alchemist is common. You don't want to necessarily pick him too early in the draft right now because he's not that common of a hero, and even though he's versatile, you want to make sure there are 2 things that you really want to weigh. There are many things, but 2 of the biggest things that you want to weigh in a captain's mode is how high priority is this pick, because how likely do I think that this hero will stick around, and how diverse is this hero, or how much does this give away about my draft? The Alchemist does not give away very much about your draft.
No, it doesn't. And he's not... I mean, I don't see a clear counter to him
I'd
either.
also like to note that KC was going for some serious lockdown in their draft, and Alchemist is kind of... He can be a stationary hero that can kind of just sit there and just crank away after stunning, and he wants to stay stationary with that acid spray. So he was smart drafting that.
Yeah,
in
also,
terms of countering out the void, I suppose.
With the Chemical Rage, if you get stunned out, your regen is just insane. It's still very difficult to kill you, even if you're perma-stunned.
It fills the role of a tank and a good damage dealer, how he's being built.
And just watching him destroy the jungle camps is cool.
The problem with the Alchemist is that he was so popular a little before your guys' time. He was first pick, first ban every single game for a while. As a carry. And then there was a long period of time where, like 3 or 4 months, where he didn't get picked at all because he just got figured out. People knew exactly how to beat him. And the three aspects that I think are really important for beating an Alchemist is kiting, so the ability to slow or stun him, or have really fast heroes on your own team. The ability to silence him so that he can't throw off that stun. If you can silence him while his stun is running, he will guaranteed self-stun.
Yeah.
And the other aspect is reducing his regen potential. So having an Ancient Apparition, for example, that ultimate makes his ultimate worthless.
That's
at least
true.
for the health aspect of it. Here we go. Torrent goes off. Boat's going to come in right afterward. Great use. However, the Razor's
Void's
just so
out of
big.
the fight.
The
They took
Razor
the
is
Alchemist
just
out of
so
the fight
big.
with. That was Disruptor that put him back in time, the Alchemist?
Yeah, so
Okay.
that is Disruptor's
Blink ability.
The second move, yeah, it's called Glimpse.
Glimpse, that's right.
Yeah, it'll send him back quite a while. It's also really important to think of Glimpse as a strong counter to the Bat Rider. Because
okay.
Bat Rider will try to blink in and grab your hero, and if you glimpse him back after he casts that lasso, it breaks the lasso. And he
It
just
does
goes
break
back.
the lasso. Okay.
He's also a really good counter to globals, so like a Nature's Prophet or an IO, because if you jump across the map at a Disruptor, he can send you back to where you came from. So say an IO Tiny jumps on top of Disruptor and tries to gank him. IO can send, or excuse me, Disruptor can send the Tiny back and just have a one-on-one with IO for however long he's there. Or if Disruptor thinks that his team's going to come and help, he can send the IO back, and then the Tiny's stranded. He can't get out. He does not have the IO to bring him back. You can
Because
do
the
the
IO
same thing
brings it back?
Right, the
How does the
IO.
IO work?
So IO's ultimate works that you can go to a location for 12 seconds, and then you'll come back automatically. You can't not come back. And any hero that you're tethered to during either out or back will come with you. So in an IO gank, an IO Tiny is a really common example of like Tiny IO will be farming out the jungle and just hanging out down here, and then they'll catch with their global vision, for example, the farming up way up here. IO Tiny will teleport right here, stun out. Tiny will just blow him up, and then IO will tether onto the Tiny again. So when IO comes back down here, Tiny comes back with them, and then they'll just continue to farm.
Well, it looks like the Dota's going just for a little bit. I'll be right back in. Sometimes my Dota comes out. But yeah, IO is something we do not see in our level of play.
He's a very, very difficult hero to play. He has the lowest base armor in the game, which means that any physical damage in the early game just wrecks him. He actually takes more than 100% damage from attacks in the early game. He's got negative 0.53 armor, I believe. So
Negative armor, huh?
right, at base level, which means that at early levels, and his base health is really low too. It's like 450 or 500, maybe 550, but it's very, very low. So he can die extremely easily. He's a very nuanced hero, and he also requires coordination with your teammate, unlike most heroes. Because he by himself is nothing, and IO is basically useless on his own. IO is really only useful at most levels of play alongside another hero. He's basically an addendum to a hero.
So you can't me mid with an IO?
You actually Dendi does sometimes mid IO, so
Oh,
it
well, that's
can
Dendi.
happen. He can do other things, but functionally you don't really see it very often. Sinoble asks again, can you purge Chemical Rage? And you cannot. It cannot be purged. And somebody else asked, how well does an Alchemist, who is a support role, transition into a semi-carry or a carry role later on in the game?
I would argue not very well. Of course, there's like different occasions where maybe that happens, I suppose. Like I've seen, like we were talking about Tide earlier as a support. Like I suppose I've seen a Tide pull down a lot of kills when he uses his Ravage just for getting kills and maybe not stunning or setting up team fights. I guess it depends.
Sorry, I was reading the Twitch chat through a little chunk of that. I heard Ravage. I'm not sure where that came from. Can you run that through to me one more time?
Oh, sure. I was talking about like someone was asking about the support becoming a hard carry.
Right. Specifically
said-
Alchemist, but
Oh, sure. I never really seen Alki played as a support, so I guess people. Does that happen often?
it
I
happens
haven't
a
seen it.
lot. It used to happen a lot at high tiers of play.
Yeah.
Like an Ogre Magi type support?
Yeah, well, he's kind of functionally very nuanced because one of the aspects of he plays kind of like a Wraith King in that he's very difficult to kill and you don't want to focus him. So he's a support that can just sit and tank damage. Once he gets his ultimate, he's very hard to kill even if he doesn't have farm. So through the mid game, you can have your Alchemist just kind of standing in a fight, just taking up space, doing little bits of damage. He's got a really good stun and your opponents can't really target him out. So in addition, he's got that acid spray. Up against heroes that are very difficult to take down, that used to be very popular, such as the Bristleback and the Centaur, Acid Spray is very effective because negative armor is the best way to take down those sorts of heroes.
Which is something that, like, really also isn't taken into account at my level of play. I don't want to speak for Wazoo because he's a little higher than me, but armor means pretty much nothing to people. I think they like Assault Cuirass because it costs so much. I'm pretty sure that's the reason it's bought.
And the Hyperstone, man.
Yeah, and the Hyperstone's cool. You buy it at a side shop. So, I mean, armor, it's pivotal as you're talking. Or secret shop, not side shop. Yeah. It's pivotal. You've talked about it before. These guys understand it really well, the team we're watching.
Right.
Armor.
So, let's talk just really, really briefly about armor and why it's so important. Okay. In the late game, you basically rely entirely on your DPS, or your damage per second, which is going to be your Razors, your Faceless Voids, your Alchemists, your Kunkka somewhat. He's a little bit more bursty, but for the most part, you're relying on your ability to do lots of damage over time very reliably. That's basically what a carry is in most situations. Lots of damage reliably over time. That's almost always physical damage. Magical damage maxes out because you can only skill a level up to level 4, and then it doesn't level up anymore. So your magical damage hits a wall. Your physical damage doesn't have to. And the only way that you can really keep physical damage from absolutely wrecking you through the late game as it gets scaled higher and higher and higher and higher is by getting armor. Armor reduces physical damage specifically. And so armor is really important. It's also really important, once again, for heroes like Bristleback or Centaur. Any hero that you want to attack minimally, or Viper. Any hero that every instance of an attack is a chance for that hero to get something out of it. You want to reduce their armor so that you have to attack them less. If every attack does more damage, then the number of attacks you need is fewer.
And even if you can reduce that number by one attack less, I mean, that can change a fight. Yeah. I know there's many kills that I've lost if I could have hit him one more time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And the other thing to keep in mind there is that armor, it's going to reduce, like if you reduce armor from 15, which is what this Razor's at now, to 14, it's probably, I don't know off the top of my head, I used to know my armor charts and I don't anymore. It's probably going to increase the amount of damage he's taking by a couple of percent, maybe 2 to 5. Probably
like times 0.6 or something like that. I posted an article on our website. I'm still kind of confused.
It has diminishing returns. So the more armor you have, the less it does. So it's actually a
derivative.
It's a derivative, right? So it ends up coming out to the more armor you have, the less you need it. But the less armor your opponents have, the more effective it is to give them negative armor. But
so do you think KC is kind of regretting maybe not sending that Void up to the safe lane to farm earlier?
Yeah, I think the Void's doing really well for what he has. Especially since he's landed a lot of really, really strong Chronospheres. And that's been basically the saving grace of KC, is the fact that their team is coordinated around those Chronospheres very, very well. Every member of the team. But if this Void had a little bit more farm, he would be able to like blow people up in that Chronosphere by just killing them before they had an opportunity to get out of it. Right now, he's having a little bit of trouble with that. The bigger heroes that he'd want to take out, the Kunkka and the Alchemist, are a little bit more difficult for him to actually just kill. And the Alchemist is a little bit difficult for anybody to kill. He's almost 6-slotted right now.
Oh, yeah.
I forget, who did Ice lane in the hard lane?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Who did Ice lane in the hard lane early on?
It was Skywrath Alchemist.
Going to be in the hard lane it was the Bat Rider, I assume. I didn't actually watch the lanes, but yeah, Kunkka mid, so it must have been Bat Rider off lane.
Right, yeah, it was, and it looks like he's doing just fine for himself because of that. So this oil spray, sticking napalm.
Yeah.
Do you constantly want to be throwing that down? And I see he's only leveled it up twice, where he could have had it completely maxed out. Why is that?
He probably only leveled that up twice because he's getting the amp damage, and he really wanted to be able to burn down creeps very quickly. So the Bat Rider, once again, this is a hero whose play has changed a little bit recently, and there's still a little bit, the jury's out as the right way to play him, because he used to be very, very effective at jungling. You'd throw down that sticky napalm on a stack of creeps, and then you'd throw down the Firefly underneath them, and they would all die. So you could take out 5 stacks of creeps all at one time, and suddenly you have 1,200 gold.
Oh, man.
But now the sticky napalm is half as effective against neutral creeps, or against creeps at all. Or something like that. So to half as effective compared to how much damage he did before. So now it's a little bit more effective mathematically, I'm pretty sure. to do more damage with the Firefly and have that amped a little bit by the Sticky Napalm than to have it all amped by the Sticky Napalm and do a little bit of damage with the Firefly. And that's why we're seeing him focus more on that. And this kind of brings me into sort of one of the reasons that Batrider's a good offlaner that I don't think Void is as strong of an offlaner. Is that Batrider has a catch-up potential in the jungle. He can go someplace where nobody else is going to farm on his team and catch up. Whereas we already saw the Void can't. At least not early. He needs to go into a lane to farm. He can't really knock down creeps in the jungle very effectively. So just looking at the Batrider is doing much better than the Void in terms of net worth. Even in terms of net worth, like, compared to the rest of the net worths on his team.
And he is. He is doing well.
The reason for that is that he can play catch-up in his jungle. So he is a stronger offlaner because of that.
But yeah. I mean, I think they have to have made a comeback if their Alchemist is at 32,000 net worth. I mean, like you said, he's almost 6 slotted.
He's a monster right now.
Is he just going to win the game for them?
That's typically how carry alchemists work. They are carry in the hardest sense. Like, a carry alchemist is one of the heroes that will carry you. That's where the term comes from. It's like a carry is a hero who's supposed to be able to win a game by himself at a certain point. Alchemist the Alchemist is one of those heroes that at a certain point he and a lot of times can win the game. I'm pretty sure while he has his ultimate on, he has the lowest base attack time in the game, which means that his attack animation is the lowest out of any hero, which means that he can attack the most if he has the agility to do so.
It's going to be interesting to me to see how KC is going to deal with this Alchemist. I mean, they can always lock him down, but hopefully not while he's in that chemical rage, because he'll just heal back that damage at this stage.
So
such a low cooldown.
I have a question coming in. Do you guys know what Veiled Discord does?
No.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, actually.
Reduce spells something?
We're going to see a big engagement, so I'm just going to watch camera. A nice pipe usage going to be coming out of ice, and here we go. There's going to be a little bit of re-engagement. So a little bit of re-engagement.
Fantastic pipe.
Yeah. That pipe definitely saved at least 2 of their heroes. And, Magix is going to go down as well here, probably. Razor's really fast, but, there's going to be the blink, actually. He will be going down. I was wrong. All right, so...
Light for KC.
So, Veiled Discord, I'm going to try and find it in the shop here, actually, so that I can actually pull it up and read exactly what it does for everyone. Veiled Discord gives, I think it's 25%, yes. 25% increased magic damage to units within a certain area. It's a radius of 600 that you can cast. You can cast it from about 800 away, off the top of my head. And so units within 600 is going to be... their magic damage is going to be increased by 25% for like 20 seconds or something like that. It's 25 seconds. So somebody asked, why don't we see more of that built into the late game in order to increase the efficacy of magic later game, so that you don't have to worry as much about, like, my magic casters are falling off. And really the reason... Void has been seen here, I'm pretty sure, because there's flying vision on this Batrider. And they are going to back out because they know what's going on. So Void didn't know that Batrider saw him, but Batrider saw him. So, and now he's going to go in and try to get this Aegis. And this is just number 2. There's no cheese on this, but...
no, Alchemist says no to that. Says no, sir.
Yes, he does.
All right. Alchemist is like by himself. No, okay, now Cheesehead is coming in. This is... All right, Bean is coming in. A little bit of a staggered engagement coming out of ice, but Alchemist is just so tanky at this point.
I mean, he's just a monster status right here.
Right.
What
There's
do you
nothing
do?
they can do to stop him right now, it feels like.
Right now, it's really difficult to handle him because you can't lock him down. Even if they lock him down, they can't do the damage to kill him. The only thing that they can really functionally do is try to do so much damage to their opponents outside of team fights that Alchemist never has enough allies nearby to pick a fight. Because Alchemist right now would still be hard-pressed to take a 1-on-5, right?
With those boots of travel, he's right up to the top lane again, pushing those towers out.
Immediately after picking up that
He's just everywhere
Aegis.
right now. I don't know if they have what they need to deal with him.
Yeah, this is probably going to be GG right here.
Yeah.
Like, we'll probably see the call after the Alchemist wipes a couple more heroes. The Rex are going to go down, and there's just not a lot that KC can do at this point.
The big green monster.
I was really impressed by the Void Razor combo early, but it doesn't look like it held out for him.
They let the Alchemist farm too much. They spent they did not spend a little bit. Yeah, and Ethereal Blade is a really good counter to the Alchemist. But once again, at this stage in the game, it doesn't do enough. It does stop him from attacking you. So you can kite him. Remember I said kiting is a big weakness of the Alchemist? Ethereal Blade is a great kiting weapon. And kiting is where you make it so that your opponent chases you like a kite. They can't actually hurt you. They can't kill you. They just chase you around.
while you're hitting them back.
Right.
basically,
While
right?
while the rest of your team is basically picking on him. So one player is playing monkey in the middle, so to speak, while the rest are doing damage to him. So say he's chasing after this hero backs up. And then he tries to change targets to this hero, and this hero backs up. Then he tries to change targets to this hero, and that hero backs up. So much so that he cannot actually get his hands on anybody, and the entire time he's taking, like, damage over time. Just that you just keep nuking him or doing little bits of damage to him, and he eventually goes down. Ethereal Blade is really good at that because it makes you, even if he catches up to you, it makes you immune to his auto attacks for 4 seconds, so you can get away.
Is that a passive or is that an active? Do you have to activate that?
It's an activatable, and it does have a pretty long cooldown. But if in a team fight, it will buy you 4 seconds of time to try and get away and to try and get your team to distract your opponent.
Sure, which 4 seconds, I mean, time is so much different in Dota when you're playing opposed to watching. Like,
Relativity.
It's really, it's weird. Like, there should be some theory written on it. It feels like 4 seconds is a very long time is the point I'm trying to get across in game.
Yeah.
It's enough. It makes a difference to be juking through trees, and those 4 seconds can definitely save your life.
Yeah, 4 seconds is a very long time if you're in-game or if you're traveling on a spaceship close to the speed of light. Those are the 2 times where it means a lot.
And the only 2 times.
All right, I want to go back to the Veil Discord because I still see them talking about it a little bit in chat. So, Veil Discord, why don't we see you play bot more in pro games? It sounds like it's a really good idea, making sure that your supports can still provide nukes in the late game. The fact of the matter is, unless you have a very, very magic-dependent team or a very, very strong magic skill, you're better off, in most cases, amplifying the damage that your carry does by getting negative armor or by getting auras like Vlad's that gives him plus 15% damage, than you will do more damage that way passively than you will do by getting the Veil of Discord. The Veil of Discord is really nice for certain heroes. It's really nice, especially if you're like playing a pub and you're doing really well and you can't rely on your team to do jack shit. So you're like a caster, you're like a Sand King, and you're just killing it, you know? And your team is like, what is armor? And so you just go, all right, you know what? I'm going to be the carry this game.
You put the whole team on your back.
So I was on
your Sand King back.
So I would argue that Veil of Discord would be worth more the later the game is than the earlier because you're blocking 25% of damage that is being increased.
No, it's enhancing.
You're
magic
enhancing.
damage.
So
it's enhancing. Oh gosh.
You basically take away every hero except 2. Meepo has 35%, and there's another hero who has some additional percentage as well. But for the most part, almost every hero has 25% magic resistance built in. So when you actually see a magic spell on your hero thing, like the Venomous Gale, for example, it does magical damage, 100 strike damage, and then 90 per second, right? It's actually 75 strike damage because there's a 25% magic resistance on every hero that you hit that with. A lot of people don't realize that, so they miscalculate how much damage they're going to do. But so what Veil basically does is it takes away the innate magic resistance. This is a big fight. It's going pretty badly for KC. They're going to be a buyback, but it's just not going to mean that much. Razor bought back, but he doesn't even have Eye of the Storm. And he's going to try to scare these guys away. But look, Sandin and Planer basically has no damage on him through this fight. The fact that they haven't called GG right now is kind of...
There's just so much power coming out from that Alchemist, and the refresher just came up for the Shadow Shaman.
So why did they not say GG when they lost their top barracks? What were they holding? What hope were they holding on to?
Sometimes the teams just hold on so that they can talk about the next game. Sometimes teams hold on so that they can try to frustrate their opponent. Sometimes teams hold on because they legitimately think like, all right, we are very close to being able to turn this around. They don't realize how far back they are, or some teams just don't like calling GG. It's really a team-to-team thing.
Okay, so on this one,
fantastic victory for Ice that Alchemist, man. Whew.
Yeah.
Scary stuff.
That was a fantastic game. I really got to see the strength of Alchemist. Wazoo's played Alchemist, and he plays him extremely well. Wazoo plays hard carries like Void. He plays really well in our games.
I've never carried that hard with Alchemist, and I actually have a pretty poor win rate with him just because I feel like I pick him in situations where he's maybe not the best hero to pick. I pick him because I think I need the stun, and then, like, I don't know, I just feel like I don't get the farm I need. But
well, instead of guessing a hard counter, what would be a hard counter to Alchemist? What would you pick?
Let's talk about then the draft for the next game because I got to get this lobby up. Guys, why don't you go ahead and tell anybody who's watching where they can find more of you guys and what you guys do because they may not have heard of you.
Yeah, sure. You can find us at defenseofthepatience.com. We're a Dota 2 podcast. Also on Twitter at .p_show, DOTP_show. And yeah, we're just kind of talking about being a new player in the in the Dota community and trying to advance ourselves.
Right. We're also doing interviews with relevant people around the community. Gorgon was actually our first interview, and that's how we came to know this fine gentleman. We are booking more interviews as it comes. We just had a great interview with Jordan Hansen. He's over the Amateur Dota 2 League. So we have a bunch of great stuff up there. It's also a catalog of our journeys and kind of simplifying the process, offering grounds for commiseration, and I guess just sharing in this experience together, because Dota, I don't know if everyone out there noticed, but it's becoming a big deal, a really big deal.
It has.
And it's just fantastic, the energy that's behind this game that connects so many people around the world. So we've really taken a liking to it.
We found ourselves, I have a little like music studio, and we found ourselves going out and talking about Dota. And we're like, why aren't we just recording ourselves? Like, why don't we just record this and put it on the internet? And that is literally all that we did, is record it and put it on the internet. And we've had an overwhelming response, and
we had a couple shows that we recorded before as like test runs. And
yeah.
They were I don't know if you saw the old like Simpsons before Matt Groening did The Simpsons. It was like Family from Hell or whatever it was from. They looked like scribble drawings, and that's kind of what our old recordings were. They were very rough, and we've really grown since then, we feel like.
And by old, he means like 13 days ago, but we've really...
Make it sound longer for the audience, man. We've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
20 years.
It's been awesome to meet people like you, Gordon.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a really friendly community, quite honestly.
Internet hug.
Yeah, I'm giving you the internet hug right now. I am jumping into the next lobby. We've got LDJ and some of the players here, so we can just continue to talk over, because like there's going to be a little downtime. Normally we play music, but since Twitch will mute us anyway, I want to send out to Snowball. Thanks for your questions. I think we only got questions from him and maybe one other person, so statistically, probably pretty safe to say that Snowball got it. We spent the most time talking about the Veil, and I think that's a pretty good question that we may not have completely answered.
And the pipe. There was a fight with a pipe, and I didn't quite catch that.
It was an amazing pipe of insight up there by the bottom rune on the Radiant side.
What? Oh, okay. What does the pipe of insight do?
Pipe of insight,
magic damage.
It gives you an aura for magic resistance, and it also blocks a certain amount of incoming magic damage when it is cast. So it basically says there is a stop on nukes for X amount of damage or X amount of time, whichever comes first.
So if, say, they hit them for 500 damage, will it block just 400 and 100 will go through? Or will it break the whole shield and the 100 is negated as well?
Well, I'm sorry. I was reading in the lobby. What was that?
Oh, that's fine. So say I do a 500 damage nuke and I have 400 damage Ghost of Insight on. Is 100 damage going to go through after, or is it just going to negate the whole 400 like a nuke stopper?
The pipe of insight will stop all of that damage until it is completely depleted or its timer runs out.
Okay.
So basically, what's going to happen is, like, say you walk up to him with an arbitrary 400 damage. Say you have a Dagon or something, right? You walk up to him and you try to nuke him. They've got pipe up. If they don't have the pipe activated, they're going to get plus 30% magic resistance. So their overall magic resistance is going to be 55 for the bulk of heroes. For if they have actually cast it up, then they get a barrier for 400 that blocks all damage for 400. That is magical. So it can block an entire level 1 Dagon, for example.
Oh, wow. And that's huge. So the earlier, the better on that.
And it does that to every hero that is nearby. So you block 400 damage on your entire team for a grand total of 2,000 damage if you get all 5 of your heroes in.
That's a ton of damage to stop. I didn't thinking about it on a 5-hero basis instead of a 1-hero basis is the way I should be thinking about some of these items. And now back to the Veil of Discord. Is that a 1-hero item or the whole team gets it?
The Veil of Discord is activatable, and any hero who is within a 600 radius, within a castable 600 radius, when you cast it, will be impacted by it. And you cast it on your opponents, and it makes your opponents more susceptible to magic damage. It gives them 25% magic damage increase, and since they have usually a base 25% magic damage decrease, it basically evens it out. Since you get the resistance before you get the amplification. So it actually ends up becoming 6.5-ish, 6.25, something like that. So you go from your opponents having 25% magic resistance to your opponents having 6.25 magic resistance. effectively boosting your damage by 20%.
Wow, well, that's huge.
Yeah.
Like
It's
we
really
talked about.
big if you have a nuking team. But if you don't have a team with a ton of magic damage, you're basically getting a fairly expensive item for doing damage in a doing less damage over time, basically. You can only cast it so much. It has a cooldown. So if you are a team that has damage per second heroes, which most compositions do, in that particular case, you end up basically wasting the money. You could get a sheep stick, as LDJ mentioned, for only 2,000 gold more. You could get an assault cuirass for a little bit more. All right, let me talk to the players a little bit. Go ahead and talk amongst yourselves while I figure out what I'm doing here as admin.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And that is a lot of talking amongst
Oh,
yourselves.
sorry. I thought you meant go ahead and talk amongst ourselves, as in
Oh,
mute
no,
the
you
mic
can
and
just
have
do
some
it on
fun
stream.
talking to the three of us. Go
I
ahead,
think they
sir.
saw that at our level of play, we're like at the 2K or so. You know, we'll leave that up to your imagination. Could be 3K, but it's
Could be
actually
5K
not.
even. I mean,
It could be 9K.
Oh, it's so not 9K or 5K. Or
Well, all of us together are almost not even close to 9K.
all of us together aren't even 4,000. I don't think. No, we are. No, we are. God.
But anyway, you see Faceless Void get banned out a lot, and you saw Faceless Void get picked up as the first pick there, which was interesting. And I mean, Chrono, he was throwing down good Chronos all game, but
they were a combo pick. They grabbed Razor and Faceless for the first
and that's
combo
obvious
pick.
there because the Void throws down the Chrono, and
well,
then he puts down the static link the Razor does, and you can zip
yeah,
zap
it was
damage
great.
right out.
It was a great combo early on, but it didn't hold up.
And-
Alchemist, wow,
Not
I had
in the
no
late
idea.
game.
Can we say comeback as well? I mean, we were talking earlier that game, like, Gorgon, what are we going to do? I mean, how do they come back? And what happened was Alchemist went to the jungle, they dewarded the jungle, and basically ate to his belly's content and went and won the game with some good support.
Yeah, there at about 35 minutes, he had twice the net worth of the next nearest competitor.
At that point, it's like, it's got to be hard to lose. I mean,
That guy was
When
just
your
getting the
carry's
monster
that-
status.
Another thing that I want to jump in and add to that I wanted to say in the game, but I never actually got around to it, is paying attention to the specific moment that they took that first big team fight and they started last game to really feel like they were going to come back. Moving into that was when the Kunkka finished his Crystallis, which is a damage dealing item. And remember what I had said before. The Kunkka just needs to get more damage, and then they'll be all right. The trouble is, can the Kunkka get damage before they get rolled over?
Oh,
And they
that
were
is
in a
what you
big
said.
window. That is basically
that is
what I said.
verbatim what you said. And what did he do? He got more damage, and they won.
Right.
And he landed some pivotal boats.
Right. I mean, it was a lot of coordination stuff involved as
It
well.
was. It wasn't just Alchemist, like, I'm making it seem, but
Of course.
I was watching Alchemist a
carrying
lot of that
really
game.
hard.
Everybody was on Alchemist's shoulders. The boats were coming off of Alchemist's shoulders.
Which is funny because there actually is somebody on Alchemist's shoulders.
Oh yeah.
The Alchemist.
There's like a smart ogre magi, a smart
So
ogre.
people
that's
were
over
on
my-
that little guy's shoulders, is what you're trying to tell
Yeah,
me?
there were.
The
It was like a
actual
nesting
Alchemist?
doll of shoulder carrying.
It was.
Alright.
That ogre could carry a lot. It was really cool to see something that we thought was lost. And that is, I mean, the gold. That's another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, didn't get a chance to.
Well, let's talk about it
Alchemist-
now. Well, let me do a quick intro because we're on a new ticket,
Oh.
so there might be
Oh,
new
okay.
viewers here. So just so everybody knows, everybody who's in the stream at twitch.tv/PlayStable1 knows what's going on here, but this is not going to be a traditional broadcast. My name is Gorgon. I'm sitting here with the guys from Defense of the Patience, a podcast for newer players. They are themselves kind of newer players at a lower MMR, and they're trying to learn the game. This is a program that I'm hoping is going to pick up a little bit of steam with newer players, and we're basically just going to kind of have a casual chit-chat about what's going on in the game and why certain things are good, why certain things are bad, and try to make it fun and educational, but we're going to focus a little bit less on the play-by-play. So if you want the play-by-play, go ahead and disjoint your camera from us now. You can listen to what we're saying, but you can follow the play-by-play on your own. If you want to kind of follow along with us, you're going to be more than capable of just flashing camera onto me and keep on going that way. And our normal CEVO broadcast will continue here on the season 5 ticket. We've got 5 to 6 games for you guys a week, and I will continue to do normal casts here at CEVO as well, along with Chicago 10 and all the others. But for tonight and possibly once a week from now on, I'm going to be coming on and doing more beginner-oriented broadcasts to try and help people who are a little less familiar with the game find a good avenue for just learning a little bit about the game through watching.
Noble cause, sir. Noble
It can
cause.
be a very, I don't know, frightening experience to jump into the huge, deep pool that is Dota. These type of resources are really amazing for us, even, to come on here and talk to you guys about our game. Like, what do we know that's right and what's wrong?
Sure, it's been so educational. Just hearing what you have to say, just little nuanced things that maybe aren't that little, maybe they're huge and really important to know, but I didn't know, and it's good and it's cool that we're learning as everybody else is. And it's all because of people like you, Gorgon, like I said, and CEVO and everything like that. It's been fun.
Yeah, definitely a blast.
And thank you for having us.
No, thank you guys for coming on, because I would not, I'm new to making things for newer people, as that, if that makes sense, and it really does help to have people on who are legitimately trying to learn through it, and it's just good for everybody. So why don't we go ahead and I guess we can talk a little bit about that Alchemist from last game, or we can just move into the draft this game.
Well, we're seeing Tidehunter again. We're seeing Tidehunter banned. Is Ravage that bad?
Tidehunter is really popular right now, and that's part of the reason that he's getting banned a lot. Teams just don't want to deal with him because they know he's probably going to come out. Right?
Okay.
It's the same reason that you ban a Lycan to some extent. Like, a Lycan is really good, but at the same time, they didn't make any changes to him after 6.81 hit. And he didn't get played for 3 months of this patch at all. Like, he had basically, I think, 1 or 2 plays for the entire period of time for 3 months after this patch hit. And then a team in Southeast Asia played him a couple times, and he just exploded. And ever since, he's been almost 100% pick ban every week for professional games. He's a hero that your opponents are thinking about playing him, so you ban him. Even if you think you might have a counter to him or something, you don't want to deal with it, and it might screw up your opponent's strategy to not give it to them.
Sure, and almost even a psychological blow. Oh, hey, we were thinking about picking Tidehunter. Now what do we do?
Yeah. Well, they've got to expect to get him banned. I mean, just the last 2 games we saw him getting banned, but you're right. There's a lot of psychological warfare in the picking of these.
Yeah, this is, in my opinion, like, I think the ban draft is the most of, like, the meta, because meta stands for metagame, and metagame is thinking about how you think about the game. That is the definition of metagame in, like, a game theory sort of sense. The draft is the ultimate thinking about how you think about the game, because you're trying to figure out exactly what your opponent will do by keeping them from figuring out what you're going to do and get an advantage with absolutely no play happening whatsoever. It's all about choices. I love drafts. I will literally go into games and just watch the draft and then look at the end of game summary, like who won, and then go watch another game.
I knew it, and just you say that to yourself. That dazzle. I knew it. I knew it.
There's so much variety in the amount of heroes you can pick. Like it's like watching a chess game unfold. There's so many different ways it can unfold that just seeing that, like you said, the stats and seeing the drafts and then the stats after can be incredibly enlightening, I'm sure.
So here's a question from Sinoble again, who was our ticket winner last game. And if you guys want a chance to win a ticket for the iLeague, anybody who's in tickets, stop by twitch.tv/PlayCEVO1 and feed us any questions you have. I'm looking over there periodically. If I see a question that I think we can answer or think it's relevant, we'll talk about it here on the stream. We'll answer it, maybe do a little bit of education, but also you'll be put in the running for an iLeague ticket. And if you're on the stream at the end of the night, there's going to be a raffled iLeague ticket as well. So make sure you guys are stopping by twitch.tv/PlayCEVO1 for more of that action, even if you're in the Dota 2 client.
Can we win a ticket?
We will put you guys, if you're in the stream, I will not disqualify you from
beg, darling.
There you go.
Beg, darling.
All right. So the question is, which is a bigger advantage, do I think, Dire or first pick? The first thing to note here is that Radiant does not necessarily mean first pick. A lot of tournaments work the way where first pick is chosen by the team that doesn't pick sides. But for example, CEVO, last game, Dire was first pick because one team decided they wanted second pick and the other team decided they wanted Dire. That got flipped this time. This time, Ice chose Dire, so Radiant chose first pick, or so KCA chose first pick. But it does not necessarily guaranteed mean that Dire's going to have second pick. Right now, at the professional level, I would say probably Dire. Statistically, Dire is a better grab, but not by a lot. I run stats on this for TI4, for example. The top 4 teams on TI4, all of them played better or none of them played worse on Dire than they did on Radiant. All of them had a higher or equal win rate on Dire than they did on Radiant. The next 4 all had a better win rate on Radiant than they did on Dire. So you can kind of see there's a little bit of a correlation. Not a really strong trend, but enough of a trend that you can kind of see a pattern that Dire seems to be somewhat of an advantage here. And the reason for that is at higher levels of play, the advantage on Roshan and the advantage in the offlane being able to access your Ancients very easily is becoming more and more executed on.
We were just talking about that on the show, actually, whether one side appeared to have an obvious advantage over the other. And yeah, that early Roshan makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's a tough area it's a tough area to get vision on.
It's contested constantly.
Yeah. And that easy access through your,
you could fill a textbook with the things, the nuanced advantages that Radiant or Dire has, but that's the big one for Dire. And it's not just early; it's at any stage in the game. For example, and I'll point this out on the map, but when we actually have a map, for example, the Dire side have 2 lanes of towers, both of which are about equidistant from Roshan. Which means that if they know Roshan's going on, or they're fighting at Roshan and they die and buy back, they've got 2 lanes of towers that you have to knock down before they can TP to Roshan, basically. Radiant has 1 really close tower and 1 sort of close tower. And if you get those 2 towers down, Radiant's basically unable to teleport back for Roshan reaction, which gives Dire a huge advantage. They can, in theory, throw 10 heroes at Roshan, and Radiant, in a lot of situations, can only throw the 5.
Oh, okay. I see.
And if you're, of course, talking about buybacks here,
right?
If they were to wipe and they can teleport right down to that tier 1 and they're off, and then they're there.
Right.
And yeah, they're right at Roshan.
And it's not just the tier 1; it's the tier 2s as well. Are pretty good, especially the tier 2 on the bottom lane for Dire is fairly close to Roshan. So you can just go right down those steps. It's not that far in way of distance away from Roshan. It's maybe a 4 to 6 second jaunt. From with boots, with treads or something, from that tier 2 to acting range within Roshan.
So Gorgon, quick question for you: is that Wraith King going to kind of be playing the 4 role here, as kind of like just a support, stun, durable type hero?
Yeah. So if I were to guess these lanes, I would say Centaur Warrunner's in the off lane, Brewmaster's going to be in the mid, Sniper's going to be in the safe lane with Wraith King and Shadow Shaman supporting him. The Sniper and the Brewmaster are exchangeable in that though. For Cassia, Bristleback will probably be off lane. Mirana and Dazzle will likely be roaming / supporting. Doombringer will probably be safe lane, and they're picking a mid now. If I had to guess.
Doom, I love Doom. And back to this Dire Radiant, I prefer the Dire jungle. I really do. If I'm playing a jungle hero, for some reason, I don't know. Maybe I just played more Dire than I have Radiant jungle, but it feels like it flows better. I feel like I can move through the Dire jungle better than the Radiant jungle.
That is, there are differences in the jungles that are of a lot of contestment. I mean, the Radiant jungle is typically easier to stack, but there is one camp that basically cannot be stacked. And that's the camp right by the mid lane.
I know as a new support, the Dire jungle is definitely a lot easier to pull that lane with as well.
The safe lane?
Yeah.
But the Radiant jungle is much easier to pull through, which is where you pull with one camp and then pull with the secnd camp.
Oh, after they kill the camp, you pull it again.
Right. And on the Radiant side, you can actually do a triple pull through. You can pull through all 3 of these camps.
Oh, wow.
On the Dire, you can only pull through with these ones, and this is a much more difficult pull through to do. So there are definitely advantages on the Radiant side. The Radiant side is easier to get vision on. If you're on the Dire side, it's easier to ward up the Radiant camp and know what's going on in there, because the Dire camp's all convoluted and mazy. But that also means it's harder to get defensive vision in your own camp if you're Dire. It's harder for them to get vision on you. It's also harder for you to get vision knowing if they're running through your camp. So there are toss-ups here and there. Different players have different preferences.
Sure. And it looks like this team, Ice, prefers the win. I do have my money on them. It looks like their picks are smart and their players are confident. Cheesehead did really well last game.
Yeah.
He was on the Skywrath, I believe, last game.
Yes,
you said that like such a nerd. Cheesehead.
I'm not a nerd. I'm cool, man.
I'm a nerd and cool. Cheesehead was doing really well on the Skywrath last game, that's for sure.
Yeah, and he will be reprising a role on a very playmaker sort of hero here as another support. So I expect good things out of Cheesehead. Something that I want to bear in mind also with these games is that the servers are really effed up right now. And we're getting a little bit of lag on my end. I don't know if you guys are getting it, but the players
We've been
are
seeing it all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the servers. It's not any individual person. There's something in the last patch must have broken something because it is really screwed up. But the players are landing all of these great combinations and stuff through that lag. So bear that in mind.
Please.
Bear that in mind that this is when these players are playing with probably like 5 to 15% packet loss. That's how good these players are playing. So this is an open registration tournament, and these are two of our better performing teams, but these are not two of the teams that would be favorited to come in late in this tournament. You know, like these are what I would consider high level community players that are looking to make a name for themselves.
Oh wow, okay. So why did they block their own jungle? Oh, that's not their jungle.
No, that
Never
is
mind.
a Radiant Ward.
That was a
That's
beautiful
Sentry.
ward, and it looks like First Blood. They're gonna grab with this Wraith King.
It's like they're gonna grab. No, he'll get out.
Bristleback's hard to
Oh,
kill,
no,
but
no.
he will be going down here. There's just not enough heal going on.
Got my money on Chiefs.
And that is a very, very scary tri-lane right there with
Oh,
that Sniper
yes,
and
it is.
Wraith. And also the Shackle on the Shaman. I mean, there's a lot of stun, lots of damage, lots of mini stun coming out there.
Aethershock is really great. And they did actually end up blocking one of their camps right here. And I assume the reason they blocked that is so that the Bristleback can't get... Because you can actually pull, side pull, it's called, the wave over here. So the Bristleback, if he's getting in trouble with his equilibrium, he can actually pull his creeps over here and try to kill them off while the equilibrium of the lane is up here by his opponent's tower, and he can't really get too close.
And all of us just looked at ourselves, at each other like, that's a new concept.
like,
so
wow.
thank you for that. That's fantastic to know.
I'm gonna do it all the time.
It's a lot more dangerous than standard pulling, though, so bear that in mind, because it's very easy for them to just rotate in on you down here.
Don't frustrate me, man. You're always my safe lane support.
No problem. I'll do it terribly.
So this Diamond guy, or hashtag Free Iraq or hashtag Free Gaza, he's got to be really unmotivated right now after losing the last game and then dying within the first minute and a half.
Yeah, Bristleback's a hero that has a lot of trouble if he gives up first blood too.
Yeah. I mean, you want Bristle to build, and he's supposed to be durable, and he's supposed to be able to live through those moments. So, do you think? I mean, that was their intention? Was they knew Bristleback was going to go off lane? They were waiting
threw the
for
sniper
him,
up there.
so they would get that gank on Bristle to slow down Kcia.
I think that they didn't really care. So the Weaver could have gone offlane and the Mirana could have gone offlane, but like I said, I called the Bristleback offlane. It's pretty obvious. He doesn't really go a lot of other places, typically. And, yeah, it is lagging. I wouldn't be surprised to see these players actually ask for a reschedule because it's so laggy.
Yeah, it has been bad.
Let me just let them know. Too bad.
Not as bad on US West, actually, as US East, we've noticed. But it's still bad, from what I hear.
And that is from experience, but...
All right. So now that I'm done typing that out, Bristleback, though, he's a really good choice up against the team that Ice has. Remember, Bristleback was a 4th pick. So they already knew the bulk of Ice's picks. And remember what I was saying, the really strong counter to a Bristleback is negative armor. He does not do very well when you're amplifying the basic damage that he's going to be getting. So Arcpire wants to know when you should run a tri-lane, and I'm going to go into that a little bit. We're not going to talk through all the nuances of that because it's, once again, you could fill a textbook with tri-lane.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you could.
But we'll talk about it a little bit.
Lots of depth there.
Well, I think our simple answer here from Defense of the Patients is whenever the other guys aren't listening to us.
That's right. You guys often pub with 3, so
It's just the 3 of us. Yeah,
if
we
our
get
opponents
fans,
are-
but they're better than us, man. Like, we had a fan that was 4,300 today that was playing with us.
We love playing with fans. It's a lot of fun.
And we won the game,
They're way
but like
better
I
than
said,
us,
he
typically.
dragged us the whole way through.
Dragged you
so-
kicking and screaming across the finish line.
We're going to play with you too, Gorgon. You will know.
I am looking forward to it as his first panda. But, okay, this Bristleback's just a little out of position. Fortunately, he does get out, and they're going to do a little bit of movement on the Dazzle as well. Try to force the Dazzle to self-heal. Of course, the Dazzle, if he heals, the Bristleback will heal.
Here comes the shallow grave.
It's a good
as well.
shallow.
He's beaching himself. He's got a TP, so he realizes that if he comes over
wow.
here, he can TP
That
out.
was
Nice
a very
turn.
cool- Yes, that was a really good turn of the type. Oh,
Wow. Yeah, beautiful turnaround overall.
Dazzle's,
did he not kill?
I think he's going to pull down the double here if he can grab the sniper.
Oh, he got the
He's
sniper.
not. Oh, there it is. Oh, the auto attacks aren't showing for me because of the
yikes.
lag.
Oh,
He might get the Shadow Shaman as well. He just leveled up that Poison Touch.
Oh,
That Poison
War
Touch.
health. Oh,
that was brilliant.
yes.
That was a brilliant level up.
Yeah. And that's once again a big difference between, like 1,000 to 3,000, even 4,000 MMR sometimes, to 5,000 or above is that you will see people like level up a skill on the fly.
Clutch level ups. Gorgon, I had a question about Dazzle. He seems like a kind of a hard hero to lane just because he needs those levels as a support. He needs a lot of levels to be really effective. Where do you put him? Is he a good off lane with somebody? Is he just good to have for that heal and shallow grave?
Usually you see the Dazzle in safe lane, and he's often the hero who's pulling. So often the Dazzle would be the hero who's stacking up this camp here, trying to get grab the creeps from the lane and bring them over so that he can knock down jungles camps. And one of the reasons that you pull, it's not just for the... So this actually goes into the tri-lane question that we're supposed to talk about, right? When do you tri-lane? Well, one of the reasons that you tri-lane is so that you can get those jungle pulls. If you have a hero who needs some protection, or you want to make sure that your farming carry gets a lot of farm, gets a lot of creep hits, you will usually end up going into a tri-lane. And the reason you can get away with that is because in a tri-lane, at least in a safe tri-lane, where you're in your safe lane, which would be the bottom for the Radiant or the top for the Dire, you're going to be able to pull. And if you're pulling, it means that you're knocking down camps. If you're knocking down camps, then you're getting extra experience off the map that is not otherwise available. So it's about economy, right? You want to get the most
efficiency as well, right?
Right, efficiency is a good way. Yeah, exactly. You're getting the experience off of these creeps, in addition to all the experience off of these creeps and these creeps and these creeps. So instead of splitting the 3 lane creeps experience 5 ways, you're splitting it 4 ways, and you're also getting a 5th member getting some additional experience out of these camps here. So that's one of the aspects of pulling that is really good. The other aspect of it is that it will bring, for example, the equilibrium, which is where the creeps settle when they fight. If Weaver had a pull right now, he would get his equilibrium set back closer to his tower, where he's safer and where his opponent is less safe. So you pull, your creeps don't come out into the lane, and then the equilibrium gets set closer. The one last thing that's really, like, the last big thing about pulls is that you can safely deny your own creeps. Unless your opponents are going to come over here and stand near your pull, they're not going to get the experience from your lane creeps. So you're going to be effectively keeping them from being able to get as much experience and slowing down their rate of leveling.
Okay, and that's what we've talked about a bit as differential. When you're pulling those creeps, you're denying that wave, and it's almost like a gain in the fact that you're denying.
This is a huge rotation.
A huge hit.
Oh,
and that
boy.
wave goes down.
He didn't get his time lapse. Oh, Centaur, it looked like he got denied. Did he get denied?
No.
He got hit by an attack. It's just really laggy right now. The attack animations aren't always showing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the servers. It's really big of these teams to just be like, you know what, we've got an audience. Why don't we just play through? Because honestly, if I were playing through this, I would be like, you know what, let's reschedule because this is an important game.
Yeah, that should definitely be noted that these teams are just powering through it, being good sportsmen about it, e-sportsmens.
E-sportsmen. Yeah, it's really cool to see what they're able to pull off even with the lag.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. So, and it looks like Bristleback, coming back to this, has done a really good job at getting himself back into the game.
Yeah, he does have a laning partner.
King.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has the Dazzle, a really good laning partner.
Yeah, that Dazzle
one
has
of the
been
best.
no slouch.
Yeah.
And so the Dazzle is really effectively helping the Bristleback keep the sniper zoned out, which is really hard to do to a sniper. Part of that comes down to the fact, though, that the Shadow Shaman, Mount Nips, Ketsu, and the Wraith King, the other support, Cheesehead, rotated out of this lane. When they rotated out of this lane, they would have known that they're going to give Bristleback farm. They're going to give, because if they're not there to zone him out, then he's going to be able to get in and get more. So they've made a trade there. They decided to trade off giving the Bristleback farm for the opportunity to try and kill the Weaver. And in this case, it worked out. They got the Weaver, they moved bottom, they slowed the Weaver down, which is really important because Weaver is an extremely hard hero to kill. And I think that was a good trade for them, but it did help the Bristleback get back in it.
And Sniper holds his own pretty well up there against both of those heroes, especially Bristle.
Yeah.
You can just kind of nudge him back, like, just get back.
And then he runs from the spikes, though, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Bristle is deceptive, too, because if you're a ranged hero, you're like, oh, I'll just be able to zone the Bristle out. He just runs in to your range for 1 auto attack. He gets 1 quills. He falls back. He comes into your range for 1 more auto attack. He gets 1 quills. He falls back. After 3 quills, he's doing way more damage to you with his quills than you are with your auto attacks, and you're all of a sudden like, he's at half health, and I'm almost dead. What happened?
Which brings up a great point. And that's looking at right above your health bar, what is active on you, buffs and debuffs, right? Paying attention to that. is something I don't think any of us do enough.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it now because I'm watching the game, but if I were playing this game, I wouldn't know that I had quills on me.
So
You
there
don't
are
play a lot
some
of bristle though.
there
Yeah,
are
I
some cases that's really important actually. Like for example, if you're Slark, you can tell where your opponents have wards because Slark heals anytime he's outside of vision after he gets Shadow Dance.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
That's fascinating. Yeah, well, that's making me think about team compositions.
Looks
now.
like Sniper went to ult but canceled his assassinate there.
I think he went to ult and then he lost vision.
Oh, I see.
The invis will cancel it. As per Dota 2 lab, I saw that.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that.
It's a cool YouTube channel.
I thought it stayed once it was
Yeah.
clicked on.
So Sniper's ult is actually really finicky. Invis and Fog of War will cancel if it's not far enough into the animation. And
Oh,
this
I
is
see.
one of those things that I was talking about once again in that High Ground TV article that I know that some of you guys read. Bristleback's going to go down here. But one of the things that you want to do is you want to have a sense of distance units and you want to have a sense of how far away you can cast from. For example, Sniper, if you hover over his bar, you can see that he can cast from a huge distance. In fact, an entire screen of distance plus some.
Yeah.
He can cast that. But if you are, for example, running to auto attack and you don't know how far you can auto attack, what you're going to end up doing is running up, starting the auto attack animation, and having your opponent fade into the Fog of War right before you finish that animation. And then you're just going to stutter step. And while you're doing the auto attack animation, you're not moving. So you're actually going to fall a little bit farther behind every single time. You're like, oh, I got him. He got away. I got him. So even if you're
That's a good
faster than
sniper.
him,
That's a very good impression. Take that to Broadway now.
so even if you're faster than him, like your opponent, if you're just auto attack moving, you're not going to catch up to him in most cases because every time you start to auto attack, he's going to get into the Fog of War and screw you over. So it's really much better to chase people by right-clicking with a movement speed and then telling yourself to attack that target once you know that you're within range of vision.
See the serpent wards coming out. Wow, did they change the tide of a team fight,
Yeah,
don't they?
big win again. It looks like they're going to grab the
The
bristle.
Brew popped his ult as well. This
Yeah.
is just bad news for KC right now, this entire engagement.
But maybe Bristleback lives. Oh no, Blink Dagger.
Not on Brew's watch. He has a blink dagger already.
Yeah, that's insane.
10 minutes
that
is
was
about, at this level of play, 10 minutes is near average for a Brewmaster Blink.
That is just insane for me to wrap my mind around.
Yeah, same.
Oh,
But
he's
Doom-
dead for sure.
Yeah, he is.
And the
He's
arrow's
not
going to come out from Marana.
Is he hoping to get
He's
killed?
trying to deny.
Oh.
He's trying to
Did you
self-deny.
see that arrow?
Oh, this is
not
a
so
really good
close.
spot to know, guys, actually. This trees, you can go around them like that. There's a little gap right here.
It's a good juke spot.
And so he was going out of vision, hoping that the creep would kill him instead of them, denying them gold, right?
Right. So he was trying to get in to die to those creeps. When that turned to be impossible, he ran into this little chunk of woods, and he was trying to get out of vision so that he could juke away, even though he was doomed, so he probably was going to die anyway. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can also tell if your opponent is invis with an AC near you or any negative armor, right? So say your opponent has a Shadow Blade and an Assault Cuirass. Or a Shadow Blade or an invisible unit who has a Radiance is another good example. If you notice that you have that aura on you, then you know that hero's nearby, even though he's invisible. So you can, if you feel that Radiance or if you feel that Assault Cuirass, you see it in these little indicators, the buff indicators above your head.
Yeah.
You can instantly hit your dust, knowing that somebody's nearby.
Yeah.
Oh,
don't-
the Dust of Deceit.
Right.
And Dust of Deceit also is canceled if something comes within 1,000.
1,000, I believe.
Uh,
Yeah.
you-
So
1,000
there's
units.
Smoke of Deceit and there's Dust of Appearance.
Oh,
Oh,
Dust
that's
of
right.
Okay.
Smoke
Smoke.
of Deceit is what we're talking about.
The Dust of Appearance, you can instantly hit your Dust of Appearance, which will it provides vision of any invisible unit within it for a certain amount of time, and also provides, I think, a 10% slow. So instead of buying Sentry Wards, you can buy Dust, and then if you know somebody's near you, you see somebody go invisible, you can hit it right away. They'll be covered in it. They'll be slowed so they're easier to chase. And no matter how far away from that original spot you get, you'll still be able to see them until the duration runs out.
Oh, wow. Okay, so until the duration of... And this is Dust of Appearance we're talking
Yeah,
about.
Dust of Appearance, I don't remember what duration is off the top of my head. I think it's like 20 seconds. But
It feels like an eternity when you're Ricky or
it's
you're
12 seconds. Yeah.
12 seconds. Well, that's the longest 12 seconds of your life if you get dusted. Or the best 12 seconds when you're chasing.
Interesting that the dust can be dispelled by Omni's repel. I didn't know that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Interesting stat that just popped up there on the side, or little blurb.
Thanks, stat guys.
blurb.
We love you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
I
go.
just like the stats, guys, man. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
can
really
I?
cool.
I just wanted to go ahead and say a plug here for Standard Deviants. They are like a brand new. They opened up this week doors. They're a new stats house. They're here. They're providing stats for most of the casts that you guys watch, including here at CEVO. Sometimes they join Dota League. They're doing stats at Amateur Dota 2 League, at like every league that you guys watch in North and South America, and some outside of North and South America. They're the guys providing stats, including Phage Guy, Mahaz, you know.
Yeah, next Thursday's episode will include Phage from Standard Deviants.
I love Phage. Phage came up under my wing, so to speak. Like Toffees and I were the casters that Phage really got in the door with, and I love working with him. He is the like chief of Standard Deviants. And if you guys like
wait to have him on the
stats, you should follow at STDDEV stats.
Yeah, I'm a double E, so I love my math and my my statistics. So
Tune into that show with Phage guys at defensethepatients.com.
it's gonna be awesome. All I've
be a
heard
very
is good
mathy
things.
show.
Yeah, all I've heard is good things about this Phage. Should we? What is his Twitter handle?
It's at that Phage guy.
At that Phage guy.
And that's Phage with a PH. Right.
Yeah. Jinx, you owe me a ticket.
Whoa, man. You're making it seem really, really poor. Just one ticket, man. Just one ticket.
Oh, so yeah, it's just hit us up with just one ticket, man. I just need one. I just need the one.
Yo, Gorgon, man, you got them
As I'm
tickets.
scratching my neck. Come on, man.
I'll make you feel good. I'll make you feel real good. Just give me the one ticket, man. Just give me the one ticket.
Whoa. We're classy ladies, man.
So, I played Dota a little bit 18 months ago and really hated it, to be honest. And I used to play Sniper exclusively, and it felt like Shrapnel sucked back then. Has it gotten better, or did I just suck back then?
I think maybe you just sucked back then.
I think so.
Shrapnel's really good, and it's undervalued. And here's one of the reasons why.
Vision alone is very good.
It gives vision, so it gives you vision of high ground. It gives you vision of fog of war. Wherever you want vision, it provides vision. It also damages towers because it's composite damage.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of that. And towers surprisingly have a low amount of health. Just a lot of armor is
Big
what
fight
it is.
coming down here.
Oh yeah, Dazzle's just got shot out by the headshot.
Yeah. And now 122 is going to try to run away. He doesn't have mana for Primal Split. So if they cast enough things near him, his wand will give him enough mana for the Primal Split, but it doesn't look likely.
Oh, it looks like he's prepared.
Oh,
to pop
great Serpent Ward's coming out here. Does he have a shackle? I can't tell because the lag. He does, but
boy,
it's just
that's it
outside
for
the
the Doom.
range. So they do manage to get the Doom. The Serpent Ward's actually not as good as I expected, probably because of the lag. But getting the Serpent Wards up here while the Fog of War was up, so his opponents had to run into it. That was a really good placement, but they had to do something to stop them in it, or otherwise it's just wasted wards.
That's something I never really think about is Shadow Shaman. I mean, obviously I'm a new player, but where you place those wards outside of their vision and being aware of that, that's a tough thing to do.
It's a hard thing to know. It's a hard thing to know where to position those wards, and honestly, everyone loves to critique you about it the second you throw those down.
They do.
Everybody has their own opinion as to where wards go. Honestly, the only real hard and fast rules that I have with wards is try not to ward where you just counter warded, and try not to ward where you have vision otherwise. Other than that, it's really nuanced about where you are in the game, what time you are in the game, what your opponents are doing, what you think your opponents are doing, whether or not Roshan is up. There's a lot of questions. And
It's as varied as everything else in Dota. Item builds, it's all malleable, and that includes vision as well. It's a very malleable thing. We talked about that on the cast with you.
Right, even more malleable than like item builds because you can do 4 to 7 ward configurations in a game. So one thing that I will say that I fundamentally disagree with in terms of warding is this thing, where you ward both sides. So these are about 700 units away from each other, and so they have a big oval vision, but not even that big because the high ground cuts it off right here, and the trees cut it off right here. Now, when this ward expires in a minute and a half or so, this ward will still be up for a little while, but they layered them a little bit too much, and I think it might have been a panic ward or something, like to try and push down this tower. They put it up so that they could see farther behind the tower while they were pushing. The problem is they had already invested a ward here, so for that tower, it cost them their ward investiture for 7 minutes.
I feel like if they even just moved it up by this, the Radiant Ancients up here on the cliff, it would provide them more of that high ground vision and give them a little bit more value on that ward.
And a rune. Give them a rune, too.
Sure.
Yeah, they do have a rune here, but it's about to expire. Let's take a look at the items. Shadow Shaman still is sitting on top of one ward, and I assume that's going to go down here by the Roshan.
So, should we be worried about stacking wards, or when I get 2, should I just place them where I want to place them and move on with my life?
Just place them where you want to place them, move on with your life. You can hold on to them a little bit if you want, but remember, the longer you hold on to ward, the longer you're going with less vision than you could have.
Hey, that's a good
Oh boy,
point.
that Mirana going down to that sniper there top lane was hard to see.
Yeah, that was hard to see. That Mirana was 100% confident, and unfortunately, it didn't work out.
The sniper has the
Maelstrom.
yeah, the Maelstrom, which is going to. He got a couple procs there that did it.
And a couple, I mean, he probably got 1 or 2 more attacks because of that attack speed, which ended Mirana's life.
You feel that on a sniper too, don't you?
Yeah. Here's another thing the sniper can do with shrapnel. A little trick.
Yeah, that was really cool. I saw that.
Yeah.
Hitting a jungle camp.
So you drop it on a jungle camp while you're clearing another jungle camp, and it'll force those creeps of the jungle camp to come out and try to aggro you so that you can shoot them from where you are.
Could you stack using shrapnel?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
As long as your
talked about
timing's
that-
just right. Yeah.
We talked about that on the show where you can stack with Kunkka's Torrent.
Yeah, that
And I thought-
that is really cool. You don't actually see that very often because it's not really that effective.
And it's probably
mana-wise.
hard.
Yeah, well, once you know the timing of it, it's 100% timing, right? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
It's
And
like,
why use
oh,
the mana if you
right.
can just
I think
do
it's
it normally?
57. You hit it at the 57 second, right? I correct me if I'm wrong. I think I read about that yesterday, but I'm trying to absorb knowledge as quickly as I can.
Don't rush a Padawan.
I want to be good.
It takes a long time, and I still get things wrong all the time. Bear this in mind. Like, I've been playing this game since I was, well, I don't want to date myself. I've been playing this game, Dota 1, on and off at least since like
You were a younger,
2006.
sexier man.
Yeah, since I was a younger and sexier man, since about 2006, 2007, something like that. So
Wow.
not as long
So
as
Dota
some
1.
people, but a long time. Yeah, well into the Dota 1 days.
That's the humbling thing about Dota in a lot of ways. We were talking about this on the show, actually. We're going to say that a lot. But that it's so humbling in the fact that there's so much to know, and there's gaps in your knowledge that you need to admit and trust your team on, which actually helps those team building skills a lot.
It's daunting to learn, too. It's one of those games. Like, Dota has kind of killed other games for me. I used to play a lot of other games, too.
Yeah.
I don't anymore. I basically just play Dota, a little bit of CSGO, which is a recent thing, and that's it. Like, since I started playing Dota more seriously about 3 years ago, I haven't even hooked up my Xbox. Like, I own one, and I have a fairly large game library. I don't even hook it up.
It's
Yeah,
a good
I have
mic stand. You know?
I have a copy of Titanfall that's collecting a lot of dust.
Yeah, like, I really want to play that game, but I can't justify learning another game when I don't know Dota as well as I could.
Oh, I know.
what I mean?
And that's honestly why.
Big fight coming down here.
Yeah,
middle.
and that was a good
auto,
Doom.
Auto Doom on the Centaur.
He just wanted him down. I wonder if that Doom would have been better on the Wraith King. I mean, they didn't know the Wraith King was there at the time,
Yeah,
but it would have.
They don't have
probably
vision of
been.
that area or anything. I don't think.
Looks like Murata might grab the Wraith King with a well-placed arrow. Imagine putting an arrow in this lag.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
very difficult. Wraith King knows he's being followed, though, so he's just going to go straight to his tower, and he'll be fine. Remember, they changed the arrow. Oh, you guys might not know this. They changed the arrow very recently. It used to have a minimum stun of a pretty decent chunk, and now it doesn't. Like, if you're right next to him, the arrow does basically nothing.
Yeah,
in terms of stun.
it's based on distance, which
Right.
is it's so cool that distance and vision are just so prevalent in this game.
Yeah, Mirana is one of the few heroes that I basically never played. I understand her really well, but as it turns out, she is the best hero for my girlfriend who plays for Vasa V.
Wow.
And so whenever I'm playing, I'm often playing with her, and she used to, she's probably got 1,000 games on Mirana alone.
Well, I'm
Mirana's strongest hero.
Yeah, Wazoo. I've seen some things that didn't seem possible with a Wazoo arrow, and that's into like an arrow that just doinks somebody, and then I still,
I love when you hit
kill.
him just square in like the chest.
Oh, yeah.
Just sit there. It's satisfying. She's a satisfying hero.
It is a really satisfying skill. You're just like chasing after somebody, they think they're away. And not only do you get one of the longest stuns in the game, but you get to just sit over them and lord like, oh wow, that arrow just passed through everybody in terms of its animation, but it did hit Centaur in terms of its actual effect. So that's that lag again.
Oof. And it looks like Bristle. Does he take? It's physical damage that he takes less of when he's hit in the back, correct?
Yeah, Bristleback takes less damage if you hit in the back and a little bit more damage than that if he's hitting the sides, but still less. And it also stacks up damage in a little counter, and when you take enough damage, it gives you a free Quill Spray.
Oh, and it doesn't take any mana for the Quill Spray?
It doesn't take any mana, and it doesn't affect your cooldown. So you can Quill Spray twice, like at the exact same time, actually, if you time it just right.
If you know you're about to burst a Quill, and then you bust a quill.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds
Bristle's
like a
like
bad
a
rap song.
poster boy.
It's like a bad burst a quill and then bust a quill.
With MC
bust the quill.
Bristleback.
I'll bust a
quill in your ass.
He is kind of he's hardcore Bristle. You would not want to like
I
I
insult
love
that guy.
Bristle. I think Bristle is a very undervalued hero in the current meta. He's
Yeah.
stopped being picked, and I honestly, for my life, I can't really figure out why. Like, I think Bristle in most cases, especially on Dire side, is better than Void in offlane.
It's kind of like how we were talking about Skywrath's ult earlier and how burst damage is good. Like, Bristle soaking that damage is good in a lot of situations because there's lots of physical damage in the field in a lot of cases.
And
so.
you build him tanky typically, so he's going to
Yeah.
be able to soak up a ton of that burst damage. He also all of his damage is physical, so it scales well into the late game. His Quill Spray is physical damage; it's not magical damage. So you can clear ancient stacks with it. Something that you don't actually see in the very much pro play, but something that I do kind of in my own pub sometimes. If you can stack these up, you get 5-6 stacks on these ancients, and just like occasionally poke your head into your lane, right? But you don't really want to be contested. You can't really zone out your opponents because you're running a tri lane. Come back, stack up 5-6 at level 5. Use one of those dusts or use one of those smokes of deceit we were talking about to make yourself invisible. Cast it right there next to those ancients and cast Quill Spray a bunch of times. Quill Spray,
Dazzle
it's a
trying to
spell.
demorph.
Yeah,
Oh,
Quill Spray, because
wow.
it's a spell, does not stop the smoke. You can keep casting it while you're in smoke, and the ancients can't see you. So you can clear out an entire 5-6 stack of ancients under cover of smoke and take 0 damage.
That's fascinating to know. And I don't mean to, I just got to get this thought out real quick. I played a game with a Medusa that went straight to the ancients.
Yeah,
right
that
off the
happens
bat.
sometimes. Yeah.
Have you seen that before, where
Yes.
she goes on the high ground and then does a split shot?
I've actually seen our own Chicago Ted do that in pub games with me before. He's watching, he's moderating the channel right now, and
Oh, wow.
answering
Okay.
questions that people have in the channel as well.
That's super trench.
But yeah, no, that's something that Chicago Ted does once in a while. Not very seriously though.
I'm guessing you don't feel good about it.
It's.
It made me want to try it. I will say we lost.
You
that
saw
game
something
horribly.
ridiculous and you wanted to try it.
Yeah, exactly.
Usually going straight to ancients is not a good idea. And in some cases it'll work out, but usually you want to send that hero into a lane, have somebody else stack the ancients, and then come clear them. It's much more effective. So when Chicago Ted did it with us, for example, he did it in unranked games, and he did it when our pubbers, like the people that we had with us in the game that were not our friends, picked for every lane, and there was no place for him to go, even though he had already picked Medusa. So he's like, fine, I'll just go ancients. And it's like it's like a tourniquet for a bleeding team. You can do it. It's just it's a solution.
It's not going to
that's
look
not
pretty,
ideal.
is it?
It seemed really slow and tedious and kind of annoying, but I definitely want to try it.
CEVO brings up a good point that the Razor is very scary against Bristle and very, very strong, and that's one of the reasons why you don't see Bristle as much anymore. But if you actually look at the trends for Bristle picks, Bristle fell off way before Razor became popular. Razor only just now became popular again.
Yeah.
He gets
in TI.
handled too. Like
Yeah.
I feel like he's almost a #1 ban at our level because
Yeah.
people are like,
Razor, you mean?
yeah, I don't want to see Razor.
I think
man.
Razor fundamentally counters Bristle just because of that static link.
Right,
and,
static link is
just
huge.
wants to be
Damage.
close.
And
Bristle's
like-
got to be close.
And the
Like
other
you
aspect
just-
is Bristle can't really stack up the nasal goo on him because of the slow that Razor has, the passive. I forget what it's
Yeah.
called, but there are a lot of reasons that Razor does very well against Bristle, but Bristle fell off way before Razor was popular.
I didn't know you could sheep Roshan, and I didn't know you could shackle Roshan.
Yeah.
That's cool to know.
He does have the equivalent of a Lincoln Sphere.
You have
So
to
you gotta
proc it,
pop
right?
it, and then you can do
Yeah.
whatever you want to him, basically. I mean, there are some spells that you can't hit him with. You can't disrupt him, for example, with Shadow Demon to make little Roshans. But, yeah, you can do a lot of things to Roshan, and negative armor also impacts him, which is why negative armor teams tend to go to Roshan early. Like, if you've got a Vengeful Spirit,
okay.
you tend to go to Roshan early. If you get a Lycan, you tend to get a Medallion of Courage and go down to Roshan.
Can you
Medallion of
explain-
Courage impacts him.
Sorry to cut you off, Gorgon, but
go
can you
ahead.
explain how Ursa does what Ursa does
Yeah.
with Roshan?
It's actually really simple. So Ursa's
Okay.
Fairy Swipes, every time you hit your opponent, the next time you hit him harder.
Oh, okay.
That's what that skill does.
Stacking forever, or does it stop?
Stacking infinitely, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So eventually it gets strong enough that he can just go down and he just hits Roshan enough times with lifesteal that eventually he's stealing more life per hit than he's getting hit for, and he doesn't die. He usually comes out more or less full health. And it used to be that did not stack with lifesteal. So you had to get a Vlad's, which is an aura, rather than a lifesteal, in order to get lifesteal on Ursa and go do that. But that's not the case anymore. Now you can just get a Morbid Mask. It stacks now since the last patch. And you can just go into that little cove and go to work.
Oh,
Wow.
Troll is...
Yeah, I've seen it at level 2. I've seen it done at level 2 on YouTube, not in a game that I've played. It may have been on an older patch. I don't know if that's possible still.
Yeah. The Troll is another hero that you can do that with, by the way, because every time he hits an opponent, he hits an opponent a little bit faster. So it's sort of like the Ursa. Instead of harder, he hits them faster. So if you have an opponent that's going to stand still for a really long period of time, you will eventually hit max. Yeah.
Oh, you can go Roshan at level 3 with her, so thank you.
If you have... Sorry, I didn't actually hear that question because I was reading the chat, so I just kind of
that's
ignored
fine. Hey.
But our stats guys got that. Yeah, you can actually do it at level 1 very easily if you got the team slot for it.
Oh, you braggart stats guys.
If you get like a tree, or excuse me, a Nature's Prophet to go down there, Nature's Prophet can, under the right circumstances, Roshan level 1. Because he can use the treants to take aggro and rotate those treant aggro. So that none of them die for long enough for him to cast to get more treants. But
so I have to like move my treants.
You have to. So in order to make neutrals or creeps or towers de-aggro, what you do is you attack, move on to an ally. If you attack, move on to an ally, whatever's attacking you will stop attacking you unless it's controlled by a player.
Same with a tower, right? If you have tower aggro, you might have just said that.
Yeah, it's anything. It's creeps, towers, neutrals. Even some sorts of spell things will switch aggro, but not very many.
A Doom Sniper, but it doesn't really seem to matter.
No, he
He's
doesn't
still
care.
popping those shots off.
He doesn't care.
You know, around
Sniper
200
is-
damage a shot.
Right, Sniper's all DPS all day long, and so it doesn't matter if he's muted. He can still do basically everything he can do. Sniper's a really
level
bad
2
target
Doom, it
for Doom.
seemed went off pretty quick.
And he has Mjolnir, which is
Mjolnir.
Everyone says
everybody
that
has
so
a different
Haven't you seen
pronunciation.
Thor?
Everybody
I'll
has
say a
different
super Swedish or something.
There's no right way to say Mjolnir. Okay.
Bork the Mjolnir.
There's a way you can say it where you sound like you're having a seizure.
Sounds
though.
like you're yodeling when you say it.
Well, they're getting racks. They're definitely in a commanding position again, and
it might be unrecoverable for Casilla.
Well,
in this
I haven't.
position.
We've been talking a lot about things and using the game as an example. We haven't really been paying too much attention to the game. There are 4,000 gold in the lead, and that's almost all from towers. They now are 2 towers and 2 racks in the lead, which is almost entirely that 4,000. There, however, 7,500 experience in the lead, and that's because Casilla has been forced to group up a lot, which means they've been splitting experience, whereas Ice has been doing a lot of going to the jungle with the sniper, having
Look at
people
him
out in
now.
different lanes. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he is just wrecking the jungle. And stutter step is something you mentioned. People may not understand what that is. It's used in StarCraft 2 a hell of a lot with individual micro.
Lots of micro games, yeah.
But it's a stop, attack, stop, attack, stop, attack. It's kiting is also stutter stepping.
Yeah,
Would
so
you,
stutter stepping more generally also sometimes means in Dota, it has 2 meanings. One is that stop attack, stop attack, stop attack, that leading attack. The other thing that it can mean is where it's like a weird cancellation of something. Like sometimes you'll hear professional casters say, "Oh, he stutter stepped that assassinate." Like he had the skill lined up and then he stopped it, either because the fog of war stopped his vision or because he hit cancel or something. Sometimes stutter stepping means like they seem uncertain, and so they're like,
so they stutter. Okay.
But
Okay.
it does mean both of those things.
Okay, yeah. Traditionally, I'm StarCraft trained, but getting better at Dota now. But traditionally, yeah, it was used for
big
the
fight
stop
here,
attack.
man.
Oh yeah, and it's looking
Game
good.
deciding potentially.
Doom, I think, got a little too close there.
Oh yeah.
He got the Doom off on Wraith King, but look, Wraith King's fine.
Wraith King is not a good target for Doom either.
Yeah,
because,
I mean,
right,
Reincarnation would have been up.
Right, LDJ, as he mentioned earlier in Statsbox, for anybody who missed it, Reincarnation still works if you're doomed. It mutes, but Reincarnation activates after death. And
Yeah.
so you have 0 effects on you when Reincarnation would activate.
Right,
and
because you die, it technically purges everything that's on.
Right.
In terms of status effects, you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
With
And-
Doom, it is till death do we part.
So Brewmaster would have been a much better target because Brewmaster is very dependent on several things. First of all, he's very dependent on Primal Split, but also something that a lot of people don't realize: Doom is not a silence. Doom is a mute, and functionally those are different because mute takes away
items.
most passives and all items. So
Yeah.
not only does it take away Drunken Brawler, you no longer have the dodge chance or the crit chance while you're doomed. It takes
wow.
away your ability to blink. It takes away your ability to summon Necronomicon or even use Bottle or TP. It also takes away your ability to cast a Primal Split defensively or aggressively. So while
So
you're
shutdownsville.
yeah, it shuts down. Doom is a really good shutdown for heroes who use evasion. So Doom is a really good shutdown for Phantom Assassin, for example. Got really popular for a very short period of time in the pro scene, and then Doom just continued to rise in popularity. And Phantom Assassin, you never see her picked anymore because you doom her, and she's basically dependent on Blur to stay alive because she does not have great base HP. You can't Blur, you can't lifesteal. She is not that hard to kill.
Yeah, Phantom Assassin is one of my personal favorites to play, just because you get that Battle Fury and it just feels easy. But that's in my play. But
Battle
yeah,
Fury, or excuse me, Phantom Assassin is a great hero for snowballing, which is where you just like get a lead and just go and you're unstoppable the whole game. If you can jam a a Phantom Assassin up early game, she becomes a lot less scary.
So it becomes hard.
One of the strong counters to Phantom Assassin is grouping up early and taking some towers. A lot of players, especially at mid-tier levels, start to panic when that happens, and they don't allow their Phantom Assassin the time to catch back up. And if they don't allow their Phantom Assassin time to catch back up, or if you can just get the general map control for it, Weaver.
Ooh,
wow!
But still got him with the illusion.
With the Manta illusions.
That was, and look, he's back.
Yep.
Oh no,
that's Brew.
No, that's Brewmaster.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like, wow, and he's already back.
All right, and there's a Primal Split. So
Primal Split, and Marana jumped over there. Probably.
Maybe something interesting to talk about for the newer players watching is Brewmaster's ult and how you were learning, Wazoo, you were learning about prioritization when he comes back together.
Yeah.
How does it work?